Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our commission meeting of February 25th. We have a nice crowd here. Probably going to talk about something special, so we'll see. We're going to start with the opening prayer from Reverend Thomas Kennel. He's the pastor at St. John Evangelist. And after that, Terry Jenkins from the Red Cross is going to come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So could you all please stand?
Good afternoon. Nice to be with you all again. It seems like an afternoon meeting is easier for me to get to on time, actually. You know? So, all right, let us pray. Lord God, we come before you this afternoon grateful for your many blessings, recognizing that you are the one who is truly capable of uniting us. You who are the God of all peoples, all nations, all tongues. And we thank you, Lord, for your blessings upon our community here, Panama City and in Bay County, for all the many blessings of and opportunities for education and for growth, for freedom in our practices of faith. And so, Lord, we continue to ask your blessing upon all of us here, upon all of those elected to lead here in our city and throughout Bay County. Please grant them a great wisdom that comes from you, from whom all authority comes. Protect our students, our military, and all those who help to serve us. And we ask all of this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
All right, Ms. Jenkins.
This was a last minute thing, so if I forget the words, y'all please forgive me, okay? You put me on the spot. Everybody look to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Jenkins. You did well without any practice. Ms. Smith, can you call the roll, please?
Mayor Owen.
Here.
Commissioner Granger. Commissioner Street is out on city business. Commissioner Halligus.
Here.
Commissioner Lucas.
Present.
Mayor, you have quorum.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. We're next to the additions, deletions, and modifications. Does anybody have anything?
We need to approve the minutes.
Oh, thank you. Would there be a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Smith, can you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Granger.
Yes.
Commissioner Halligus.
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas.
Yes.
Mayor Owen.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you. Okay, now part 4. Are there any additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda?
None from staff, Mr. Mayor.
I would like to add something about the St. Andrew Mardi Gras. I was under the impression that parking was supposed to be free, and I heard later on that somebody charged VIP parking out on the pier. So I would like to discuss that and see if anybody has anything they can help me understand about that. Is there a motion to approve?
I motion to approve.
I don't know that we'd be able to add anything. If y'all would like us to find out and bring it back, I don't think we need a discussion of that. I'll try to find out. I mean, otherwise, I'm just telling you what I'll tell you in 30 minutes.
You can.
I don't know either, but I'm fine with it. I'll move a motion to approve.
All right, I'll second the motion. Ms. Smith, can you call the roll?
Commissioner Granger.
Yes.
Commissioner Halligus.
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas.
Yes.
Mayor Owen.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Where would we put that, Ms. Smith? I think
Under your discussion.
which would be
10B.
10B. Okay, good, thank you. We have to keep things in order. The Army has to go in the order that is prescribed. All right, we're going to have now proclamations, awards, and announcements. And we're going to start off, since we have a lot of people here, for the proclamation regarding Our Lady of Grace Catholic School. So we're going to start with that. And I'm going to come up and read the proclamation, and I think somebody, pardon me?
They're 5C. Do you want us to move that? Is that what you were asking?
Well, actually, what I was suggesting, I can go in order. You all like to go in order? We'll go in order. I was just, I was out of, deference to them, since there's so many of them, was going to do them first. But the Red Cross and flood awareness aren't going to take long. So let's go by the book, Ms. Halligus.
All right, Red Cross. We all learned how valuable you guys were. Yes, wow. Yeah.
Dots right here. Oh, and yes. Go ahead.
Are we okay?
Yes, sir.
This is a proclamation for the Red Cross. Whereas this March, we celebrate American Red Cross Month by recognizing the compassionate acts of people in Panama City and by renewing our commitment to lend a helping hand to our neighbors in need. And whereas since Clara Barton founded the American Red Cross more than 140 years ago, generation after generation has stepped up to deliver relief and care across our country and around the world, bringing out the best of humanity in times of crisis. Advancing this noble mission, the volunteers, blood and platelet donors, and supporters who now give back through the Northwest Florida Red Cross chapter, they remain unwavering in their commitment to prevent and alleviate human suffering in the face of today's emergencies. And whereas their voluntary and generous contributions shine a beacon of hope in people's darkest hours, whether it's delivering shelter, food, and comfort during disasters, providing critical blood donations for hospital patients, supporting service members, veterans, and their families, saving lives with first aid, CPR, AED, and other skills, or delivering international aid and reconnecting loved ones separated by global crises. And whereas this work to uplift our community is truly made possible by those who selflessly answer the call to help, whenever and wherever it's needed, we hereby recognize this month of March in honor of their remarkable service, and we ask everyone to join in their commitment to care for one another. Now, therefore, I, Michael X. Rowan Sr., by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of Panama City, Florida, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2025 as American Red Cross Month. All right, thank you, Teresa.
Yes,
You want to say something?
sure.
Wait a second.
Yeah, letter to the teacher first. I just want to thank the mayor and the council for having us here, and what a year it's been in the world of disaster, blood, military, and everything that falls under the umbrella of Red Cross. 90% of what we do are led by these wonderful volunteers here that you see in red in a vest. Andy and I are the staff representatives for the Northwest Florida chapter. So thank you for all of the support. And we offer free briefings at your company. We can give you the opportunity to have training for your employees in CPR first aid. Download the emergency app. You know, hurricane season starts when? Okay, y'all are not supposed to answer. June 1st. So we are already starting to gear up for hurricane season, but every day in steady state, we are responding to home fires. And we have a big blood drive coming up this summer with Bill Kramer, one of our long-term blood drive sponsors. And so more to come on that. But if you need anything, would like to learn how to partner and collaborate, reach out. If you want to volunteer, go to redcross.org and click the volunteer button. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for all you do. Thank you. Appreciate that. Tony, thank you. Next proclamation, whereas the city of Panama City has experienced severe weather in the past in the form of extreme rainfall or tropical system events resulting in flooding in all areas citywide, and this flooding has caused damaged and flooded losses to homes and buildings in all areas, whether they are high-risk special flood hazard areas or low to moderate risk flood zones. And whereas the city of Panama City is a voluntary participant in the National Flood Insurance Program that provides residents with the opportunity to protect themselves against flood loss through the purchase of flood insurance at reduced insurance premium rates, as well as setting higher regulatory standards to reduce the flood risk and potential flood damage to their property. And whereas the reduction of loss of life and property damage can be achieved where appropriate flood preparedness, control, and mitigation measures are taken before a flood, and whereas public education and awareness of potential weather hazards and methods of protection are critical to the health, safety, and welfare of residents, the Florida Floodplain Managers Association have declared the week of March 3rd through the 9th, 2025, as Flood Awareness Week to promote awareness and increase knowledge of flood risk, the availability of flood insurance, flood protection methods, and how to prepare for emergencies. Now, therefore, I, Michael X. Rowan Sr., by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Panama City, do hereby proclaim March 3rd through the 9th, 2025, as Flood Awareness Week. So thank you, Jennifer. Tell me what you do, Jennifer. This is Jennifer Aldrich. She's our person that has to do with floods and things.
Yeah, I'm the city's disaster recovery project manager and the city's floodplain manager. So if y'all have any flood zone questions or flood insurance questions, just come holler at me. So.
Thank you, Jennifer.
She's the girl, so thanks for everything you do. She's down at City Hall all the time. She's working, and try to solve us, keep the seas from rising on us, and take care of everybody. Warn them ahead of time so that they know you'll be helping the hurricane, the Red Cross for the hurricane stuff. So, an important job in the city. So, congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Come on up, guys.
Okay, this is Our Lady of Grace Catholic School. Had a lot of graduates.
Long time. Tony.
Hey. All right, just squeeze in, folks.
She's saying I need prayer.
Yeah.
Whereas Our Lady of Grace Catholic School was a tuition-based Catholic education program within the Our Lady of Grace Mission Church, once established at 709 East 7th Court during the time frame of the 1960s and 1970s. And whereas Our Lady of Grace Catholic School offered a religion-based education program and tutorial services located within the Glenwood community to approximately 100 African American students between the 1st and 8th grade. And whereas both the school and church taught the core products and values that can be found in most Catholic schools across the country today, students were encouraged to become future servant leaders and enriched citizens within their community. And whereas during this time frame of operation, Our Lady of Grace Catholic School produced a great foundation for its students to continue their dedication to faith, family, and community by providing an intellectually stimulating environment while remaining rich in spiritual character and moral development. Now, therefore, I, Michael X. Rowan Sr., by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Panama City, Florida, do hereby proclaim February 25th, 2025 as Our Lady of Grace Catholic Remembrance Day. So I think you can see by the folks, the people that we have up here, what a great bunch of people that graduated from this school, and they've been leaders in the community. So it's a wonderful heritage that we have here in Panama City that I, quite frankly, wasn't even aware of. But look at these outstanding people, and please give them a hand.
Just a few words. I really want to thank the city of Panama City for the proclamation. It is a long endured process to get here. I'd like to also thank Patty Sunday, who was just as tenacious as I was in making sure that this happened. We have Father Mike from St. Dominic's. Also, we have Father Kendall from St. John's. And like to also just kind of introduce ourselves as a group. We are vessels. We were created as vessels through the Our Lady of Grace educational and religious process. Within this group, and this is just a small sampling, there are two things you say to us and we will respond. Father Judah, children, and Our Lady of Grace. We will stand up regardless of where we are and surround each other. So within this group, we have artist Ricky Steele. We have funeral director Victor Battle. His brother is a dentist. We have retired individual from the paper mill. We have supervisor that retired from Bay Med. Say again? Say it. Author? Okay, and an author, exactly. So I just want to let you know the sprinkling of intelligence that sits within this group and how we were there and no one knew we were there. There's still a lot of people don't know that we're here. And here we are with the proclamation. So thank you so much. I'm not going to take all your time. Thank you guys for coming forth.
All right. Awesome.
That was Miss Champlain, in case you didn't know it, and thank you very much, Miss Champlain. You've done a great job. We're going to get some pictures here, I think. You want to do certificates? Okay, go right ahead, Father. We'll do the certificate. Hold it up close.
All right. Hey, guys. I just want to say just my great gratitude for everyone putting this together and being here, Miss Tony and everyone. Just what an awesome celebration. I tracked down some names. I finally got a hold of the Resurrectionist Sisters. And, of course, Father Judah is all over everything. But Sister Mary Adalarada, there it is. Sister Seraphim, another Sister Mary, Sister Theophane, who was the first principal, Sister Grace Marie, Sister Donata. So just thinking of all those sisters and that came down from Chicago to the dirty South, down here to come to Panama City, and I'm sure they loved it. They have such great memories. So I was talking with them, a lot of them who have gone on to their eternal reward, but with the sisters up in Chicago, the Resurrectionists. So just rejoice in that, and also too, just as a pastor, my joy every time I get to interact with any graduates from Our Lady of Grace is always such a grace-filled experience. So just rejoice with that and for y'all's witness and testimony to our community. So thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Father Michael. All right, we have some awards to give out. And the first one, this is a certificate of recognition from Our Lady of Grace. And Tony Champlain is number one.
Thank you.
Then we have Mr. Victor Battle.
Raise your hand. Thank you, sir.
Matilda White.
Have to come up to the mayor's. Like maybe just make an opening right there. And that way we can all get
Okay.
individual
That's very good.
Can you go backwards? There you go.
We got Ricky Steele. Janice Mac Davis. Alvin Williams. Pam Shaw Sledge.
Pam?
Grace Lee. And Sheila McVan.
Sheila?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all. quite historic. This many people graduated a long, long time ago, and look what good they've done. So wonderful. Teaches you the value of education, doesn't it?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Back at me. Crazy.
He's still not happy.
We now have the City of Panama City community announcements. Stay informed and engaged with the latest happenings in PC. We encourage you to participate in our diverse range of events, programs, and meetings designed to foster a dynamic and connected community. For more details and for updates, please visit our website at www.panamacity.gov, and you can also follow the City of Panama City Facebook page. The city recently launched a new mass notification system to improve how we communicate with the public and our employees. Residents can now sign up for neighborhood-specific notifications from the city. Whether there's a local event, a project underway, or a city-related update in the area, residents will be the first to know, keeping them connected to their neighborhood's happenings. Text the neighborhood-associated keyword to 38276 to easily subscribe to these alerts, or sign up online at www.panamacity.gov. Today's the day the city has launched a new user-friendly electronic payment system. We all know that paying utility bills is among your least favorite things to do, so we're going to make it easy as possible. With this new system, you can pay your utility bill anytime, 24/7, via an online portal. You can pay multiple bills at once. You can schedule your bills with auto pay to avoid late or missed payments. You can go paperless with email reminders and confirmation, and much more. Notification of this change has already been mailed to water customers. For more information, back to the city website at www.panamacity.gov. The Development Services will host a symposium on Friday, February the 28th from 10 to 12 in room 10 of City Hall. The symposium will provide contractors, developers, and citizens with a clearer understanding of the process involved in development. Representatives from the city's planning and zoning, building services, code compliance, permitting, and business licensing divisions will be presenting, along with a representative of Cloud Permit. This is the digital software program the city uses to help the development process. And the Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation will also be there. Attendees will gain the tools to resolve common issues more efficiently, avoid delays, and navigate the development process more easily, ultimately improving outcomes for projects and the community. Mark your calendars and get ready for a fun-filled evening at Oakland Terrace Clubhouse, Friday, February 28th at 6 p.m. for a free movie night featuring Despicable Me, number 4. Bring your family, friends, blankets, and lawn chairs, and settle in for an evening of laughter, popcorn, hot cocoa, and plenty of unforgettable moments. Admission is free, and the movie will be shown inside the clubhouse, so come early, get comfortable, and enjoy a great night with your community. The City of Panama City's CRA will host the last of its 4 public CRA socials for the St. Andrews District on March 6 at Truesdale Park. These events aim to introduce the CRA staff and ward commissioner to the community, highlight the department's role and benefits, and gather community feedback on future projects. During these meetings, after introducing and explaining the department operations, attendees will be divided into groups and given maps, budgets, and guidelines to allocate funds for community projects. Survey responses for each CRA district will be accepted until March 31st. If you're unable to attend any of the socials, you can take the survey online by scanning the QR code or heading to the city's website. The city staff will host a follow-up workshop regarding the transportation impact fee on Tuesday, March 4th, beginning at 3 p.m. in room 10 of City Hall. After a successful initial workshop that garnered important citizen feedback about the proposed transportation impact fee, the city staff is committed to a secondary workshop to share the adjustment of numbers for primarily residential development. Sunset Yoga is returning Thursday, March 13th, and will be held every Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. at Oaks by the Bay with instructor Brooke Faust. Relax your mind under the calming colors of a St. Andrews Bay sunset while engaging your body with refreshing yoga poses. Whether you are new to yoga or an experienced practitioner, this session is designed for all levels. Sunset Yoga is free. Participants are encouraged to bring their own mat, towel, and water bottle. Come strengthen your mind, your body, and your soul. So thank you for the announcements, and we will now move on to the public hearing.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, item number 6A is the second and final public hearing on Ordinance 3260, an ordinance amending Section 105-11 regarding recreational vehicle and boat storage of the Unified Land Development Code of the city. As background information, at their regular commission meeting on September 12th of 2024, the commission directed staff to research the code requirements related to recreational vehicles and boat storage on residential property. Staff provided the commission a memorandum dated November 22nd of 2024 with their findings. Staff was ultimately directed by the commission to request amending Section 105-11. The planning board heard the request at their December 9th, 2024 meeting. Staff was asked to make several edits to the text amendment. Staff revised the amendment and brought it before the planning board for consideration again on January 13th of 2025. The planning board approved the text amendment with additional revisions unanimously. The city commission held the first of 2 public hearings on February 11th of 2025. Staff recommends the City Commission adopt the ordinance. The following documents are enclosed: Ordinance number 3260, the staff analysis report and recommendation, the memorandum for boat and recreational requirements, and the memorandum of frequently asked questions on the RV and boat storage ordinance. Staff recommendation through the Director of Development Services is that the City Commission conduct the second and final public hearing and approve the ordinance.
Anybody up here like to talk about the ordinance a moment?
Motion.
Or should we go for public hearing first?
Yeah, public hearing, yeah.
Public's first? Yes, ma'am, it was. Okay, this is a public hearing on the ordinance regarding the recreational vehicle and boat storage. Would any member of the public wish to speak? Yes, sir. Give your name and address, and then you have 3 minutes to talk.
Good afternoon. My name is Eric Wimberly, 2925 Briarcliff Road. I submitted a picture for today also. Tonight, my biggest concern about the RV parking in the new code is a visibility triangle. Safety for our children. That's my neighbor's RV. Anytime you come by my house, which Mayor Rohan, thank you for coming out and putting eyes on this back in January. I sent several emails asking people to come actually put eyes on what I'm complaining about. You come by my house, I have 5 or 6 bicycles in front of my yard from kids coming to play with my kids. Visibility triangle. Is this the definition of visibility triangle? As you can see, that is a truck on the other side of the RV. There's no way for that individual to back out and see a kid coming towards that RV. That was my biggest worry in this whole process, is safety for the children. And adult jogging, they might be able to see it coming. Kid riding a bicycle, scooter, it's not going to happen. That's been my biggest worry about the whole thing. So visibility triangle is a big question mark there. The other, I have no problems with the new code besides visibility triangle. I went to both planning board meetings saying we needed, in my opinion, something exact. This leaves interpretation. If it's a standard truck, 16 foot, 18 foot long from a sidewalk. The others are in here, driveway. Permitted driveways, in my understanding, is what we went over in the planning board meetings, 3 feet from property line, which means as long as RVs are stored 3 feet from the property line, driveways, side of the house, and backyards is good with the new code. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think the thing that I didn't understand when you said pickup truck, the pickup truck is actually it's
Yes, sir.
invisible behind that. Yeah. So they can't obviously see anything.
Cannot see anything. Yes, sir.
Interesting point, interesting picture. Glad you brought it.
Thank you, sir.
Russell Reynolds, 2921 Briarcliff Road. That is my house. That is my RV. And the concerns that he has as far as people being able to go down the sidewalk and everything, or me being able to see to go out, that's my concern. I can see. Nobody can tell me what I can see and what I can't see. But what I would like to introduce, and I didn't know I could put it up on the screen, but I also have a property, a photo of his house with the cars parked across the sidewalk. Mine's not. His is blocking the sidewalk, but yet he has concerns on mine being away from the sidewalk. And I would like, if y'all would like to see this, I would be glad to bring it up and let you see his property, the house next door, with his vehicles across the sidewalk. But mine's a concern.
I'll be happy to look at it. Sorry you didn't talk to the IT people. Okay. Does he always park across the road?
Well, it's either.
Across sidewalk?
When he has vehicle company over there, it is.
I see those all the time.
They're all down there.
Anybody else want to?
I've been over there. I've seen.
Okay. All right. Looks like we have two differences of
And once
opinion.
again, thank y'all.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else want to speak to this? Any member of the public want to speak? All right. The public participation on the ordinance 3260 is over. Anybody up here? It's our turn.
So I'll motion that we approve, but I do have some questions for staff.
Okay, so you want to make a motion to approve?
Yes, I
right.
would like to discuss as well.
Yes, sir. Good.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Let's see, Ms. Smith, call the roll, please.
Discussion.
Wait, I was, all right. We got a motion and a second, so it's time to discuss. And Commissioner Granger, you're first at bat.
Thank you. I had constituent reach out, and I told this person that I would ask these questions publicly. Does anything in this ordinance allow for somebody to park a boat or an RV in their front yard?
No, as long as the view from the road with the visibility triangle is met.
So they could park a boat in the grass in their front yard?
Yeah. Yes, sir. That is correct, Commissioner.
I thought it had to be within one side, so it couldn't be in the middle.
Yeah.
No.
That's what I thought as well.
That's what we had a meeting. I thought that's what we said,
Need
John.
to have, maybe, come on up.
Yeah.
He's our expert.
Michael didn't come today, eh?
Jawan Haley, Development Services Department, Planning and Zoning Division Manager. So originally, just back up kind of how we got here, the the recreational vehicle and boat section of the code originally said that you cannot store these types of vehicles at all in the front yard or front parking area of any residence, right? They had to be in the rear or on the side. So the whole purpose of this ordinance is to try to provide some flexibility on that. So the question, and Commissioner, I want to make sure that I understand you correctly so I can try to answer you correctly. You just want to know where within the front yard it can be parked? Is that correct? Okay. So they're subject to certain conditions. So they can be stored in a carport, but it cannot be located in any portion of the right of way, and it can be in rear yards and not closer than 3 feet to the rear or side property lines. And so it can be in the front yard, and I just want to make sure that I'm going to just quote what the actual ordinance states. It can be located in the front yard, except the required visibility triangle, and it refers to a section of our code. And I do want to address that really quickly. There's a section of a code that actually outlines visibility triangle. So we just refer to that section of the code. But only perpendicular to the front lot line and within 15 feet of either side lot line or one of the required side yards, but not on both. So no, correct. You can't be just in the middle of the yard. It has to be within the 15 feet of the side of the
Explaining
lot.
to us what the visibility triangle is.
Sure. So here, let me make sure I'm pulling it up. So your visibility triangle is basically an area within the line of, it's your line of sight. We all deal with it every day when we're driving or when we're walking. So in our code, and I wish we had, I don't think we have a printout of it here, but I can try to, because there is a photo in the code. And I kind of want to just show you all that because I think that would help you, provide you some guidance.
Apparently,
Yeah, Ms. Haley, it's okay. I have the definition right here.
You have it right here? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Visibility triangle is a designated area located near streets and/or driveway intersections that shall be free from visual obstruction in order to maintain visibility for vehicles, bicyclists, and pedestrians. Site visibility triangles shall be provided on all corners at the intersection of any public or private street with another street, an alley, or a driveway, and on all corners of the intersection of an alley and a driveway.
And kind of to your point, though, so what we didn't allow before, like, we then opening up the door where people can just park their boats all over their grass? I mean, not all over their grass, but.
Well, within the 15, it provides some additional flexibility because before we just said no, you have to be the front or the rear, period. But now the goal of the code, which provides a bit more, some detail of how to get there, it has these parameters, which obviously has to provide more detail to be spelled out. So.
So,
Go ahead.
It's a shame
way I
we don't
answered
have
it
it's a
was-
shame we don't have a picture because the picture makes it pretty darn obvious.
Yeah.
so the answer is correct. You could conceivably, if you have a driveway on one side of your house,
That's where.
if you had grass on the right and you met the setback lines, you could park your boat right off the side of your driveway if you meet the appropriate setbacks. The answer is correct. I will also say that if you look at the example that was put up on the screen, I understand we're using an RV, but that could have also been a large truck parked where the RV was and a smaller car on the other side of it. So I think the gentleman raises a good point that, it's up to the person backing their vehicle up to do so safely. You have multiple car driveways, there is a level of you need to be safe as you back up. So, the RV is not doing anything that another vehicle couldn't do. The goal of this was to provide flexibility to have one recreational vehicle, either an RV or a boat, potentially in front of your house, not necessarily behind a fence or under some sort of carport. That was the feedback that we got, was to
That's
provide
correct.
that flexibility.
Yeah. So, and as Jonathan pointed out, I want to expound on what he was saying. In your staff report, there is that definition outlined, but also remember that all roads are not the same. So when you start getting too strict in definitions, particularly with visibility site triangles, you run the risk of, maybe over-regulating or under-regulating. So you have to kind of keep that in mind with the site visibility triangle as well. So yes, we do have a definition, but ultimately, if there is a call, if staff gets called out, then that will become a code enforcement issue, and we'll have to deal with it through that process.
So there were two things that stood out to me. One is that I was going to ask you about, could we make them out of the right of way? Because that would at least solve if a boat or something went into a sidewalk. But you already said that's.
Yeah, you can't have the vehicles in a right of way.
And then the other thing about that is, you're right. I mean, I'm thinking about my own district when I was thinking about this, and we already have boats everywhere in the Cove and in Millville and things like that. But in Sweet Bay, nobody could fit a boat in their front yard because it wouldn't fit to the.
That's
So you
HOA
wouldn't have to
anyway.
worry about that. They
don't have a yard.
They don't have it.
Don't have any yard.
I don't want to say you don't have a yard, but you have very small little plots.
Yeah.
So, okay.
So I have a question. I'm going to try and make it very, very simple for the sake of discussion. So if I have a 40-foot RV, as long as I park the rear end of it or the front end of it close to within 15 feet of the side of the property, and it's not on the right of way, could I have it with a ranch style home, have it cover up the face of the home from the road? Could I park it parallel to the house
You mean like having it like
where you see the broad side of the RV driving down the road?
It says perpendicular.
yeah, so yeah.
You mean if it was like a
just-
circular
Like if it's
driveway?
yeah.
No, I'm saying that, so it has to be perpendicular to the house. So the
So yeah, you would have it going, like the side of it facing the road essentially. And yes, and Commissioner, if you had a circle, that's would ultimately probably what that would look like if you had a circular type driveway in the front.
I think the only thing we did different, Jonathan, and tell me if I'm wrong, we used to say you couldn't have anything, and now we're saying you can have one if it meets some certain parameters. I mean,
That is correct.
Isn't that kind of the nuts and bolts of what we're trying to do?
You are correct, Mr. Mayor. We're providing a little bit more flexibility. You're allowed one. It doesn't have to be necessarily under a carport but there are certain parameters from, from the triangle, the visibility triangle that we spoke about, and also being perpendicular, to the right of way and the road. And obviously, there is going to be a level of subjectivity
Yes, sir.
to Ms. Haley's point with the visibility triangle, and understand the issue of people parking over the sidewalks. We should not, in my opinion, focus on recreational vehicles. I mean, that should be a problem, whether it's a motorcycle or whether it's a 36-foot RV. Like and that's something we need to do a better job of. It's inconsiderate to do that because the sidewalks are meant for pedestrian safety and ingress and egress. But that's a situation we've got to deal with anyway. This should not create that. So
I would agree.
The point to bringing this forward and moving forward on it and trying to change it is to change a lot of people that live in Panama City and Bay County at large feel that, hey, I bought this property, I should be able to do whatever I want to with it. Well, we all know that that there are limits to what people can and can't do with their property. But at the same time, when they find out that they can't do anything with an RV or a boat in their front yard, a lot of times it causes shockwaves through a neighborhood because there's a lot of boats and RVs in front yards, and people just didn't know that was how it was supposed to be. So I think what we're trying to do here is we're trying to marry up the expectation that people have, or that our constituents have, with the reasonability of, hey, you can't have 20 RVs in your front yard and, have a boat up on blocks and, all kinds of craziness, and that causes people's property values to go down. Okay, I'm satisfied.
Any of you ladies wish to speak? You're good? And we have a motion and a second and a discussion. So what we're voting on is to approve what the staff has come up with. Am I correct in that motion? Thank you. Ms. Smith, can you call the roll?
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Halagus? Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Mayor Rowan?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Has approved ordinance 3260, an ordinance of the City Commission of Panama City, Florida, amending the Unified Land Development Code, Section 105-11, providing for major recreational equipment design standards on residential property, and Section 116-3, providing for definitions, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date.
Item 7 is the quasi-judicial hearings. Would recognize Chief Assistant City Attorney, Ms. McSwain.
Thank you. During quasi-judicial proceedings, the Commission will hear evidence and render a decision regarding the matter presented based upon the evidence received. The parties before the Commission and the public are entitled to present evidence and cross-examine witnesses. All parties and witnesses will be under oath and the entire proceedings recorded. The Commission is not bound by the strict rules of evidence and may consider any evidence which it deems relevant and trustworthy. Any member of the Commission may ask questions of the parties or the witnesses. Since quasi-judicial proceedings are legal in nature, everyone is expected to adhere to proper courtroom decorum and etiquette. Any comments or objections should be directed to the mayor. The burden of proof in a quasi-judicial proceeding rests with the applicant. Therefore, the applicant has the opportunity to address the Commission last, after all public participation, and before the Commission deliberates. At this time, for item 7A, I will swear in staff who will remain under oath during the entire proceedings. Ms. Haley, do you swear and affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. I will ask the Commission to disclose any ex parte communication at this time. This is information received outside of this public hearing in which you intend to rely on during your deliberations. We only have one item. Commission, any ex parte communication? No? Thank you very much.
All right, Mayor, Commissioners, item 7A is the second and final public hearing on ordinance 3257, an ordinance to vacate and abandon the entire alleyway and easement located south of East 2nd Plaza, west of Main Avenue, east of Sherman Avenue, and north of East 2nd Court. Relevant information is enclosed in your packet, and the map is displayed on the screen. Staff recommendation through the Director of Development Services is that the City Commission conduct the second and final public hearing and approve the ordinance. Mr. Mayor?
All right. This is a public hearing on the ordinance to vacate this right of way. Does any member of the public wish to speak? Right. Public hearing is now closed. Would anyone up here like to speak about this?
Everybody's pretty happy about it. Am I right, Jonathan?
Yes, ma'am.
I can hear the purring. All right. Would you like to make a motion, Ms. Halagus, to accept
Sure, I'd be happy. Move a
3257?
motion to approve.
Second.
Very good. Any discussion? Ms. Smith, can you call the roll?
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Halagus? Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Mayor Rowan? Motion passes 4-0.
Commission has adopted ordinance number 3257, an ordinance vacating and abandoning a platted easement and alleyway located south of East 2nd Plaza, west of Main Avenue, east of Sherman Avenue, north of East 2nd Court, Panama City, as more particularly hereinafter described, repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability to any ordinance part declared invalid, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Now moving on to audience participation. This is where the audience can come up. Anybody in the audience can come up and speak of anything that's on your mind. So it doesn't even have to be particularly on the agenda.
Walter P. Henry, 614 Maple Avenue. Speak on our water meters. Those meters was bought, and the city was told those meters, when they was bought, that they would pick up any amount of water that went through those meters. Now we're having problems. We're going back saying the meter does not operate correctly. And we're going back. How you go get a price? Give a person a late price on a meter. Just talked to a young man coming in to the city hall. He had his meter changed. He changed it from a 3/4 to a 1 inch to get more water pressure volume. Because he rent houses and he have 2 houses on that 1 meter, on that 3/4. So he changed it to a 1 inch. Now he's been told that the meter that was taken out was not working correctly. Now he got a late fee on a meter. If you could register then, how you register it to charge somebody a certain amount of water money for a meter that you said did not register. Cannot be cannot do that. You can do it, but it's not right. Now, y'all talking about you changing meters now. I've been to some meters y'all had. The meter had blackened out. No numbers on it, period. I told the customer, your meter's not working. City cannot register your water. Now, we're doing these things. It's not right. I got a question on mine. I'm gonna check my meter, see what's going on. My bill is getting higher. One other thing I want to say, when folks tell y'all about moving lift stations, ain't no way you can move a lift station and causing where you moving it at and how you're moving it. You're moving to the side, that's fine. But you're moving it back from where the floor is. One house, some house is going to have to put in a pump station to their house to be able to get their sewer into the city. Now, I know y'all talked about the one there on 15th Street, thing around Michigan Avenue, right at the bridge. That lift station been there for years. Now you want to move it.
Thank you, Mr. Henry.
How you go do that without changing the flow of that line?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're not here to complain. We're here to inform. We're with Second Chance in Northwest Florida. My name is Ron Schreffler. I'm from Genoa Circle, Panama City, 32405. This is my buddy, Robert Doyle. We're trying to let people know that the Second Chance Head Injuries of Northwest Florida exists for people with traumatic brain injuries, different seizure disorders and stuff like that, where they can get healed and try to have a place to go. It's almost like a daycare program, but it's set up for people to almost rehab. It is totally different than other programs that we have in the area, and it is the only one in the state. It is brought on board about 1992, so it's well over 30 years old. I've been with it for over 25. So it's really wonderful. Mr. Roberts is going to tell about some of the programs that we have, and I just want to make sure that we are and grateful for the opportunity to be at the A.D. Harris Building. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Robert Doyle. I live at 3735 East 9th Street. With your permission, I'd like to leave these brochures on this table for y'all to look at. As he was talking about the program, I go there on Monday mornings. I'm a certified square dancer instructor. I went over there and met these people, and I was amazed at how they was willing and able to learn to square dance with their disabilities. They also have arts and crafts there. They have music classes there. They have cooking classes. It's a very well-organized group for people that need to be recognized. And as he said, we're not here trying to complain. We just want to let this Bay County people know about Second Chance. I moved here in 1987. I traveled down 11th Street repeatedly, And until about 3 years ago, I did not even know Second Chance existed. And I've had several people tell me they've never heard of it. With your permission, I'll leave these here for y'all to look at and let y'all know that we'd like to let Bay County be aware of this organization. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate that. We always like volunteers.
A lot of it.
Guys.
Good afternoon, George Carruthers, 1702 West Beach Drive. I've stood before you many times objecting to the Beach Drive multi-use path, the narrowing of the road to 10-foot lanes, the destruction of over 250 trees when you include the sable palms, which is the Florida state tree, the 9 benches, the 9 trash containers, over 120 signs, over 150 puck lights, over 150 bollard lights, 12 redundant fire hydrants, over 1,000 new landscape plantings, and over 800 new irrigation spray heads, all of which require continuous maintenance. And also 7 flashing crosswalk warning systems. Sounds like Coney Island 2.0, all this creating divisiveness within the community and all crammed down the residents' throats when, in typical hypocritical fashion, some of you don't even have a sidewalk on your street. But I'm not going to talk about all that today. I'm going to talk about an all too common political ploy to gain specific outcome from the voter. That subject is the dishonest and totally biased referendum you have voted to appear on the April 22nd ballot. To paraphrase the referendum, it asks, yes or no, should the city use state funding to make pedestrian improvements on Beach Drive? What exactly does that mean? There's not even a reference to the multi-use path, which is the actual target of this referendum. Did anyone forget that there's a sidewalk that exists on the north side? The referendum goes on to say, and to make stormwater and environmental improvements on Beach Drive. Well, isn't that as American as apple pie? But it doesn't say anything about destroying over 250 trees or narrowing the road or even pouring 8 to 12 feet concrete along the south side of the road. And it also states with the understanding that these funds are restricted and can't be used for any other purpose. That's a total fabrication. I don't share that understanding. As a matter of fact, you are creating a true can of worms on the Beach Drive grant if you do not pursue the simple process to repurpose the remaining $7 million. You're at risk of losing these funds that could be used for the benefit of many Panama City residents on badly needed projects in their neighborhood. And it will be all on your watch. You need to authorize your city managers to spend about 20 minutes to find out the real truth about repurposing.
Thank you, George. You have slides? Did you say slides? I'm sure they'll be right
there,
on
sir. Yep. We'll put them up when you begin, sir.
Yeah, Hank Picken, 820 West Beach Drive. Save you the trouble. I'm here to speak against the recreational path on West Beach Drive. I'm disappointed to see that Commissioner Street is not here because he's the only person here other than Mr. Zimmerman who is throughout the whole history of this road. Refresh everybody's memory, and in many cases this is not refreshing memory, but it's new news. But at any rate, almost 2 years ago on 328, we as a group of residents were summoned to the basement of City Hall to be told that the path was happening. We were told it was a done deal, that the state had already given the city the road. In fact, a couple of weeks later, it was understood that the request for the transfer had not been made, and General McQueen submitted the application for transfer. The FDOT went entire summertime until late in July, not taking any action because General McQueen's application was not a valid application. It needed to have the commission to approve. Well, instead of going back to the commission, the whole thing was fabricated in this charade of having the commission accept a gift from the FDOT, which was a great surprise to the FDOT because the FDOT had not given the city a gift. In fact, it so happened coincidentally that the mayor was not here. He was on vacation at that particular meeting, and it was a dog and pony show. We had people here from various and sundry places on wheelchairs saying how great it was going to be to have this path. And all of this being said, there was no gift. They did finally, the FDOT accepted this acceptance of a gift as a valid application and moved forward. In November of this year, this past year, of November of 23, AASHTO removed the U.S. highway designation. But at this point, it is still, to the best of our knowledge, hung up in the FDOT. It's 23 months later and $1 million later, we are faced with a situation where we don't know if we're going to build the path. Can I have the next slide, please? And again, I'm sorry that Mr. Street is not here, but this is the statement that he made defending the referendum before the meeting. He said that there is a possibility, besides years of citizen-driven plans, should be citizen-driven, not citizen-driven. Obviously, it was not.
Thank you, Mr. Picken. You're going to have to lobby for more time, but we have to. I have to follow the rules.
One more minute.
Wait a second. Is there someone here that's going to make a motion? Thank you. I'll second that motion. Ms. Smith, can you call the roll?
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Halligus? Yes. Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Mayor Rowan?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right, Mr. Picken, 1 minute.
Yeah. What the translation of this, I think, is extremely important, is what does it mean that Commissioner Street was concerned that it was on the brink of failure? Has anybody been told by the FDOT that they are not getting, you are not getting the road? Or is this still a mystery that we're all guessing that we're eventually going to get it? And the last thing I've got as a slide is just to take you through this. And again, I'm sorry that Commissioner Street is not here. But the real question is, this is a classic example of a ready, fire, aim situation. Well, why now for the resolution? Why wasn't the resolution put on the ballot 2 years ago before you spent $1 million of taxpayers' money, before you were able to know whether you could build the path or not? This last question I have is, have you discussed the referendum with the FDOT, and will it make any difference in how they opine on this road?
Thank you very much.
Good evening. Derek Thomas, 1100 West 10th Street. I think you should have on there, do you want to repurpose the money to use for a multi-purpose lane where there used to be a railroad track? There's a railroad right there. There used to be a depot right there where the piece would go. And that could connect the city in a way that would improve the city instead of just causing problems for some people that live here. My question tonight is, I would like to know how much the marina is going to cost. The downtown marina, I am glad you picked number 4 out of the 5 different options. That is the one that is the most like what was there before. The only difference is they took the boats for small slips, for small boats, and moved it to the other side. Those are the same size as the boats being launched at the boat launch, so that would have made it better. Small boats have to yield to larger boats. So now when the people are using the boat ramp, they're going to get a bunch of traffic. There used to be 240, now there's 242 because you took the C break and you turned it into an extra large boat slip, but there were already 4 large boat slips there. They were usually never fully occupied. So I'd like to know how much is it going to cost? And more specifically, how long are we going to have to give away 98% of the revenue from that to a specific person? We capped it at 15 and moved it, and now all we got is the same thing we had before, but less functional and a lot fewer covers on those boat slips, making them less valuable and less desirable to the people that use them. I think that that is wrong. I would like to know an answer to that question before the next election, because I think that we've waited a long time. It was June 25th of last year that you voted to do this, and the public still hasn't been told what it's going to cost and how long you're going to give it away. Also, if I wasn't here when you announced how much St. Joe has paid, last year was the first year that they would pay anything from all of the gift that the city gave them for the bar that won't pay anything unless they make over $650,000 in profit. And if they make $1 million in profit, they'll give the city $20,000. I'd like to know what the number is for the total amount of money that St. Joe paid to the city for getting that land for free. And if you want to know what it was passed off to the public and it was going to look like, that's still on your website with the nice shade trees, not a row of basically telephone poles in the middle of the sidewalk. And for the people who are running for office, I got 3 words of advice. Don't curse. If you do your homework and come in with numbers, you shouldn't need to shock people to get attention. Don't fight. It's not germane to this proceedings. It doesn't get anything accomplished. And all prejudice is based on fear and or ignorance, and that's not a good look. So thank you, Panama City.
Thank you, Derek.
Patty Sunday, 1115 Fairland. I apologize to the council. I was trying to send media and video of this, and my phone kept going off, so I am so sorry to disrupt. Dr. Anthony Bryant, who is a Glenwood alumni, texted me and asked if I would please read, so it would be a part of the public record for the Grace School, that his cousins and siblings, Gary Lee Doles, Phyllis Denise Doles, Dwight Alonzo Doles, were also alumni from there, as well as some of his extended family whose last names were Reed and Bryant. And so I really expect that this will continue to grow as an important part of Panama City and Glenwood's history. It's just a delight. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty.
Good afternoon.
Hello, Brenda.
How's everyone today? You all amaze me.
I said wonderful.
Can't speak? Is it that difficult?
Thank you. So far, so good. We are waiting. We are awaiting your word.
No, you're not. Brenda Lewis Williams, 1007 North Center Avenue, Panama City, Florida, 32401. First, I'd like to thank the city for the support for the the Bay County Black History Festival that was on Saturday. It was much appreciated. I didn't see Mr. Mefford here, but he made arrangements for us to get a stage for the band and the DJ, and that's commendable. I have also for Mr. Mefford, we talked about cleaning up such as it is at Joe Moody Harris Park, and that has been accomplished. The debris has been moved, and the dry grass has been mowed. So it's not looking like a jungle right now. I'm coming to this commission. Commissioner of Ward 2, Ms. Lucas, sometime last year, we asked for it. We asked for A.D. Harris to be designated an historical site. The timeline is winding down. The information has to be placed with the Florida Historical Committee by April 1. Given that A.D. Harris is an historical school, the first Black elementary school in Panama City, not Bay County. So I'm coming to the commission to do whatever you need to do to make that happen. And I'm going to say this on a personal note, which is something I very seldom, if ever, do. because I make a very distinct effort not to mix personal and politics. But at this point, I was rather disappointed that not a single elected official or candidate attended Bay County Black History Festival. Not a single one. Now, Commissioner Peace from Bay County did because she participated in the pound cake tasting contest. And pound cakes were actually very good. Now, having said that, I know there were a multitude of activities. Let me stop and ask for 1 minute.
Motion for one more minute.
Thank you.
I'll second the motion. Ms. Smith, can you call the roll on that?
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Halagus? Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Mayor Rowan?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
I feel that it was unconscionable, and as I said, my personal is here. That's why I say I feel. I feel that it is unconscionable on the part of elected officials and future candidates not to participate in activities such as this nature. I recognize that there were several activities going on. The Mardi Gras, which didn't start till 2 o'clock. The Glenwood Farmers Market, which ended at 2 o'clock. So there was ample time for our elected officials and even staff. I don't always include staff in these things, but it was ample time for our elected officials to make it over to the Bay County Black History Festival. I don't need chastise. I don't need a retort. I'm just expressing my feelings at this time. So you really can't refute my feelings. But I think that it was unconscionable for our elected officials not to show up. Thank you.
Hey, good evening. Brandon Henderson Jansenius, 1904 Tyndall Drive. I got a few things. I'm going to make the best of my 3 minutes. Thank you, Commissioner Lucas, for meeting with us and some ladies from Ward 2 about golf carts in Glenwood. We appreciate your support and everybody's support to help us with that initiative. Those folks deserve to have some nice grace too. I love driving my golf cart in the Cove, and I look forward to driving from the Cove to Glenwood and going to the Asian market and going down to get you a box. So we'll work together to make that happen. I appreciate that. Something I would ask you guys to start working towards is, as a commission, consistency is extremely important to our city. The CRA Ward socials, I think you guys have learned a lot, that we've got a lot of good feedback from the city on that. I would like to see the 4 commissioners in the 4 wards have either a quarterly or a biannual ward social, and if nobody shows up, that's too bad, but if somebody does, that's their opportunity to express care. So some of the things, I've been super busy lately on social media. Doc, you've been keeping me extremely busy. I can tell that it's election season. So I want you guys to know I do manage a lot of pages. I do have a really good social media presence in the Cove. I've got 2,000 people on the Cove Facebook page. Some of the things that we have posted, 83% of the Cove residents that have took a poll on Beach Drive said they want Beach Drive to occur. Also, 87% in a poll said that they would love to see a fishing pier downtown. So my question is, why are we dragging butt on getting the marina fixed, and what is that going to look like for us getting the Next Steps initiative? Doc in January had posted that he understood we were going to have a P3 partnership, then maybe somebody nationally, what that might look like. I'm looking for action to find out who are those people. We understand we got to go, we got to move forward, let's see those results. The Beach Drive referendum, it was properly worded. This is another education source that I pushed through the Cove. It is not, are you for or against the path? It is, are you for the grant? Are you ready to move forward with the grant? So I hope that we can continue to create that consistency in what that education looks like. Some of the things that I've seen in finances, there was some conversations last fall about the city's broke. And I just want to know, do we have $22 million sitting in a fund that was not discussed? And truly, are we broke? Because it doesn't seem so, considering we closed the year last year in the green. I know in my business, when you get closer to the end of the year, the harder it is to push those numbers and those percentages to a green. I don't understand how you guys allowed the information, Doc, specifically to say we're broke, and then we managed to not be broke in a matter of 8 weeks. Like, that's misinformation. I can't determine if it's sincere, if it's ignorance, or if it's intentional misinformation. But I've spent the last 2 weeks correcting misinformation from this board on social media about the initiatives of the Beach Drive referendum, the finances, the marina development. I appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Brandon. All right. Audience participation. Going. All right, it's closed. No more audience participation. So we're going to talk about what we just heard.
Like me to kick it off, Mr. Mayor?
I would like you to start. I would like to kind of go on a one by one and see if we can't talk about some things. And you could start off on Mr. Walter P. Henry, and then I had a question regarding what he was talking about too. So
Yep.
what we got?
Yes, sir. So Mr. Henry just spoke about water meters and the estimating the price issue, kind of going back and charging, raised some concerns about that. And then he also spoke about, excuse me, how folks will upgrade from, 3/4 inch to 1 inch. We do have that happen even at residential properties. If people want additional water pressure, or depending on the number of fixtures they might have in their house, he's correct. That is something that happens. And then he commented on moving lift stations. He didn't specifically mention a particular lift station. We have a number of lift stations that we're moving, but, as we've stated multiple times before, the process of relocating and moving a lift station, even making improvements in and around it, is a process that takes time. It's done with multiple engineers and designs and contractors, and creating those bid documents and coming up with the best objective plan in order to make the best use of our funds, but also make sure that the lift station is in a position to be operational and efficient, hopefully for decades to come. So the relocation of a lift station, I just want to, just make the point that it is not something that's done, sitting around a table, kind of coming up with ideas, let's go move a lift station. I mean, it takes anywhere from 12 to 18 months of engineering and surveys and ground penetrating radar to look at the existing infrastructure around it. And it is done with both civil engineers and utilities engineers that know the topography, the grading, the necessary size pumps, the pipes, how far it's got to go, whether it's going to Millville wastewater treatment plant or St. Andrews wastewater treatment plant, all to that end. So it's something that's done in my mind very, very intentionally, very decently, and very much in order. So I believe those are the 4 items that Mr. Henry spoke about, Mr. Mayor.
He talked about, and I remember I used to know somebody that was that worked down here, and she told me that the original meters could pick up any amount of water, and he alluded to the same thing. He said these meters used to be able to pick up any amount of water at all, and now he says there's bad meters. And so I guess we need a little talk about meters, because we have a lot of people that still aren't on meters, and so they get an estimated bill, which, if that's what we got to do, that's what we got to do. And I've also heard that we bought these meters 8, 9, 10 years ago, and they have about a 10-year lifespan, so a whole flock of them are getting ready to go bad if they're not already bad. So, and as Ms. Halligus likes to say, and I see the same thing, we get complaints about water. Nobody likes to pay for water. Nobody likes to pay for anything, so I imagine we'll always get complaints. But where are we on meters? Are they good meters? Are we going to have to buy a bunch? How many don't we have? Do we need another meeting so we can talk about that? Because these are complicated questions, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
I don't think another meeting is necessary. I mean, we can certainly update the memo. I think we had circulated it a couple of months ago. We've got roughly 20,000 meters in the city. We know that a certain percentage of them are offline. There's been a number of challenges over the last 6 years. The towers that communicate with these meters were damaged in the hurricane. Following that, you had severe supply chain issues issues that came about because of COVID. It made challenges to get both the meters, but also the MXUs that are the communication devices attached to the meters that communicate back with us. And you're correct, a large part of the meters are approaching the end of life, but it could not also, it's more likely going to be the MXUs and not the meter itself. Yes, the meters are very, very specific. They can track the water that's coming through it. In regards to, what do we do when we estimate a bill and then later determine or find out that more water has gone through in the back billing? In my role, that's not something I can really speak to. I would defer to the commission and Ms. Smith on that, but I know that's something that we're working through and talking through. And I know that if there are large bills, payment options are always an option, and we work very hard with our customers. We're happy to always go out the operational side of the city and look at the meter. Our superintendent of underground utilities, as well as the meter foreman, to make sure that the meter is working and it is appropriate, registering information, and if not, we communicate that back to the citizen and to the utility billing department. So happy to get with the utilities engineer and update that memo as to where we are with the counts. We did upgrade and replace about 400 or so. That was a project that y'all approved probably several months ago. And those are some of the larger, more commercial ones that were approaching some of the end of life and that were flagged by the underground utilities team and our city utilities engineer as needing that replacement sooner rather than later. So they were prioritized. And again, that was a competitive process, and that was a project that was approved by this board. So
didn't we once say something about if we hadn't billed for several months and then they were going to get a big high bill, we were going to forget it, or we were going to give some? It seems like something passed through here, and I don't remember what it was.
So
I think Mr. Granger.
Yeah, I did not
didn't
say
you
that.
Have something to do with
and
that?
I don't have the authority to say that. So.
Well, Mr. Granger.
Yeah, we're still working on that.
Oh, we're still okay. I mean, I just remember something that we were trying to help the people that got these huge bills later on that they didn't expect them, and so it seemed like a good idea to me. But
I could add to that too, that I've been talking to Nevin about, because see, Jan does what she's supposed to do. And so the only way for anything to change with that is if we come forth with a plan. And so I've been talking to Nevin about that as well, and I'm assuming that Brian has too, so that's good. It doesn't mean we'll all like it, or maybe even Jan for that matter, but but we don't know yet what it says. So I do believe that things are being worked on. So Jan will do whatever the commission decides.
thank you. I'm glad to hear that. I mean, it appears to be a huge problem, and I think we're nibbling away at it. It looks like that's what I would say. Okay, thank you, Jonathan. I'm sorry to interrupt.
All right. Second was, I believe it was Mr. Scheffler and Mr. Doyle, who just spoke about the Second Chance of Florida and just expressed their gratefulness and appreciation to the commission and to the city for being able to use and have a presence at the A.D. Harris building. I don't know if anybody else wants to add anything to that, but I believe that was the sentiment of their conversation. Plus, they shared some information with the deputy clerk that was requested to be passed out to the dais. So
yes, sounds good.
Okay. Number 3 was Mr. George Carruthers, who again expressed his disapproval of the West Beach Drive, his opposition rather to the West Beach Drive multi-use sidewalk, and spoke to various components of the project, and also expressed his opposition to the referendum on the ballot in April.
Yeah, and I would like to compliment Mr. Carruthers, because the referendum question is obviously biased.
Mayor.
I'm sorry.
I would advise you not to make any comments about the referendum. It's a ballot issue, and it could be conceived as political activity from the dais. And that's a violation of Florida State Statute, Chapter 104.31. So I would advise this board not to get into a discussion about the referendum at this time until the ballot question has been answered.
Okay, what she has said, and actually you told me that once before and I forgot about it, but that it may look like we're trying to influence an election, and that may be, obviously that's not right, we're not going to do it. So Sorry, Mr. Carruthers, and I think Mr. Picken and Brandon, I think all of you brought up points about that, and we're not able to discuss that. So I'd love to personally, but I don't want to get in trouble, and Ms. Smith has warned me, so I will take her advice.
All right, next was Mr. Picken, who also renewed his opposition to the Beach Drive sidewalk. He did make some references to some dates and numbers, so I just want to take this opportunity to state the facts for the public, for the media, and for the dais. So some of the dates, yes, 2/14 of 2023, the grant agreement, the commission voted to move forward with that. And then at the next meeting, March 8th, the agreement was approved. Again, this is all 2023. He referenced May of 2023. It was either May or April of 2023 is when former city manager Mark McQueen did send a letter to the Florida Department of Transportation requesting the transfer of the road. However, the reason there was a delay in between that and the resolution by this commission to approve that was, and it wasn't anything that was done out of order. That is factually incorrect. The reason was because the city provided, and I know you've all seen this memo, we provided several options for the FDOT to consider as to where Business 98 might be relocated to. And ultimately, the FDOT took a couple of months to consider that and then sent back what they requested or what they decided, and then asked us to do the resolution, which happened at the July 25th of 2023. The plans are for there to be 17 outfalls to improve the environment along West Beach Drive. And as a reminder, 120 trees are being removed, 227 replanted for a net gain of 107. Of the 120 to be removed, 54 are pine trees, 24 of which are dead or in poor health or safety concerned. 64 are the palm trees, 3 of which are dead, and then 2 oak trees. Of the 227 we're adding back, 82 are going to be oak trees. So just because he specifically spoke to some of the dates and some of the tree information, I just wanted to state, and all of this is available, documented through memos to this board over the last couple of years, and happy to share those with anybody who would like to see those. I have recirculated all of them to this board within the last 30 days. Anything, Mr. Mayor?
No, I think that covers it.
All right.
Certain things we're not allowed to talk about, so I'm not going to talk about it.
Next was Mr. Derek Thomas. He spoke about boat slips at the downtown marina and some of the finances and how much longer to wait. And I know that someone else, I think it was Mr. Brandon, also spoke about an update on it. So as a reminder, we, and I don't remember exactly when, but earlier, I think it was probably the end of last year, probably the November or December meeting, the commission voted to have a second financial advisory firm, PFM, look at the draft P3 agreement that we have with City Marina Partners. That process is underway. Mr. Zimmerman and I had a meeting just last week with PFM and kind of where they are. So I think our goal is to have that finalized and back at one of the April meetings. Correct, Mr. Zimmerman?
Yes.
Yep. And so then Miss Sunday came up and apologized for that, and that's why I couldn't hear some of Mr. Henry. So thank you for catching everything from Mr. Henry, Mr. Mayor. But she just expressed on behalf of Dr. Bryant just appreciation for what was done and for the history behind the Lady of Grace Catholic School.
Jonathan, really quick to the
Yes, ma'am.
marina. You said the marina, when you said that you would hope to have it back here in a meeting in April, is that with the ready-to-go lease?
Yes.
Okay, right answer. Okay, I was just making sure.
I knew that was the right answer,
Some
ma'am.
preliminary, blah, blah, blah.
I'll just point out the vote to relook at that was 5-0.
Okay, sorry, thank you.
Ready to go where? You said
To have a lease agreement prepared, I mean, whether you agree or not, it'll be, because we've already gone through all the preliminary stuff, and the only reason it's taken so long is because the commission did choose to not use the prior person and go with the new one, and they had to get all up to speed with it, right?
so. We're going to look at an agreement to go on with the Marina Partners. Is that what I'm?
Yes.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, the The prior board instruction was you selected the city CMP, City Marina Partners, to negotiate a lease with. You then asked for PFM as the financial consultant to go through that. There's a tentative timetable, which I still believe will be met, bringing a final lease, and you would have it well before the city commission meeting, but one that would be sent to you during the month of March, and then with possible action in April.
So just so the original, as a reminder, the original financial advisory firm was GAI, and then PFM is also taking a look at it as well. So I imagine we'll have analysis from both GAI and PFM.
Good, very good.
Because they've both looked, all right. Next was Miss Brenda Lewis-Williams. She expressed her appreciation to the city, especially Keith Mefford and the Parks, Culture, and Recreation Department for their support of the Black History Month Festival. Also thanks for some additional cleaning that was done in and around Joe Moody Harris Park. And then she asked for an update on the historical site designation. I would defer to the commission on that for the facility at A.D. Harris. And then she made some personal remarks.
May I say something? Because I was wrong. Commissioner Lucas, please accept my apology. I was informed that you did come. I left around 3:30, but you did show up. So please accept my apology. I stated it publicly, so I'm apologizing publicly.
Apology accepted.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
And I accept the spanking from Miss Brenda Lewis-Williams for not attending the Black History event over at the county building.
Does that mean we can all get one more word?
What?
I'd like an answer to that question. Have you been told by the FDOT that you're not getting the road? Not political.
I'm happy.
That was
to,
one of his questions.
It was. And I'm happy to address that.
Okay,
because
thank you.
I apologize. I forgot that particular
That was
part.
a specific question.
The answer to that is they have not transferred the road yet. They have not said no. They have not said yes. However, we don't, and I've stated this before, we don't need the road in order to do the project. There's two paths forward. If they shift the road to us and designate another route through Panama City as Business 98, then we don't need their permitting or approval process. If they don't transfer the road to us, then we submit the plans to them. They review them, they may make some modifications, and then they grant us a right-of-way use permit to do a project in the city or in the FDOT right-of-way. So either way, whether they transfer it to us, yes, it would have been a little bit quicker if they'd have transferred to us, but even if they don't transfer the road, which again, yield has not happened yet, we don't need that to happen. The only thing it adds is they would have to approve those plans and grant us a right-of-way permit for construction in the FDOT maintenance right-of-way. So, all right.
Thank you.
And then last but not least, Mr. Brandon spoke up and gave comments to Commissioner Lucas for meeting with citizens in regards to the golf cart, and we are working on some potential maps to bring back hopefully at one of the March meetings or the early meeting in April to look at expanding some golf cart friendly areas inside the Glenwood community inside of Ward 2. Brandon also spoke about the P3, and hopefully I think we addressed that in earlier comments, sir, about where we are with the additional financial advisory firm looking at the proposed agreement. He did express his support for the Beach Drive multi-use sidewalk, and then asked a question about the finances, and I would defer to the clerk for that.
I will provide the St. Joe revenue to you, Mr. Thomas. If you read the analysis of the fund balance of the general fund, it states that we're projected to be meet the fund balance requirement for fiscal year ending September 30th, 2024. What is projected is the 2025. If things, and I've said repeatedly from this dais, if things occur, if revenues are received and expenditures are spent in accordance with the current year budget, there will be very little to no fund balance remaining at the end of fiscal year 25, which is September 30th, 2025. So, and I've repeatedly said it's the general fund, and yes, I have a portfolio with $125 million in it, but I owe $150 million in debt. And yes, I have $18.3 million in insurance proceeds, but I still owe $24.5 million more in debt than I have in the $150 million portfolio. So I do the math. I think it's still zero.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Very good. Will you give a report every month? So is it going to be?
Every month.
So it will be the first meeting, next one coming up?
I think there's some discussion about when the next meeting is, but it will be in the next March meeting.
So we have 2 meetings and you generally do it at the first meeting?
Yes.
Okay, because trying to catch up with you. Thank
I'd
you.
like to add to that because I do appreciate you coming up here. And it is very difficult with all the things going on online for the public to really understand what's going on. And there's no shame in you asking that or anyone asking anything they want to. But I think what your question was, I mean, she just stated that. I think what a lot of people don't know, and if I'm wrong, you please, obviously, I don't want to be wrong, so correct me. We never had, since the hurricane, we haven't had any reserve funds because we've been using insurance or whatever as our reserve fund. She's not wrong, but you're not wrong in the sense that we don't all of a sudden not have reserves and funds. We haven't had reserve. We have been clawing and scraping since the hurricane. The whole reason the fire tax even happened in the beginning was like the worst thing that the board at the time had to do because hands were tied. We had no money. And you can imagine how bad it was when that happened. I mean, that was even worse back then because we were taking in even less reserve, generating even less revenue. So you are not wrong that there is a pot of cash. Now it's going from 22 million to 18 million because we have to, we're taking insurance funds to pay off things that we did. Like you're going to find out between arbitration and all kinds of stuff, trying to fight for the Civic Center. It was around a little over $2 million. You've got this at the St. Andrews Marina. You had this over there. You'll see it. We're going to get to it. But is there 18 million still in cash there? So yes, we're not broke. We're not going to, nobody's getting laid off. And she's trying to say that, and she told us this, and the mayor didn't vote for it either, but, raise, at least keep the fire tax as it is, raise the millage rate. She said that before. Those were her recommendations to us to tax and do whatever we could so that people didn't feel, because her job is to make sure of that. So my point is, you're both right. But nobody's getting cut off, and there's been negative reserves. Like we talked about this yesterday. After the hurricane, we had like $150 million in debt just for the debris removal. Now we still have 24 million of that left, which she would love to put that insurance proceeds toward. But you don't want to do that because you don't want to not have cash, when you need to do that. So it is just a balance of getting out of it. We've actually in my opinion, we're in a better state today than we have been any year prior to that. We were even able to make some cuts and not put so much tax on people, but it is a chance and it's a risk. But that's just how it is. And if we ever get in a situation where we have to charge full fire tax or you have to do, that's for the future board to decide. But I just does that help a little bit?
Good summary. Thank you very much.
I don't know. Just trying to help.
Thank you very much. That's the end of audience participation. And I think everybody up here unless Ms. Lucas has something to say.
I do.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you didn't. In reference to the A.D. Harris Historical Preservation, I said I would support that being done. I never took on the full onus of making the application and making the process work. So, if the application is not in, that is not because I have not or the city has not. And as we discussed the historical preservation designation and the historical marker, rather, we also talked about the one at Rosenwall and how the citizen group worked together to make that happen. And you did acknowledge, and I accept, the acknowledgement for having attended the Black History Festival, which I thought was a wonderful event, third year. And we're looking forward to it being bigger and better next time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We're now going to have a 12-minute interruption.
Break.
13.
Also, right.
Okay. That is.
Let's go ahead and resume our meeting. And we are to the consent agenda. Would anyone want to pull any items out of the consent agenda or make a motion to put them all, approve all as one? Anybody want to take anything out of the agenda? Nope.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Smith, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Halagus?
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Mayor Rowan?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay, next is a discussion on a workshop on Watson Bayou. And I suggested we have a Citizens Advisory Council the last time, but Ms. Smith educated me as to some of the difficulties if we went off in that direction. So my thought was I would like to discuss the possibility of a workshop on Watson Bayou. And I'm specifically interested in it seems that some people that probably are homeless have taken up a boat as their home. And these people apparently just commandeer the boat, and then they're sort of hoarders, and they start tying up other boats, and then they start bringing material, and pretty soon it looks like it's the third world there with all kinds of activity and all kinds of stuff on top of their boat. They're also obviously have no bathrooms on these boats, so the bay is most likely being polluted, I would think. So where I was coming on this thing was in a workshop, if we could look at that, and the other thing is that a lot of people have said since we have Snug Harbor that we might need to have a no-wake zone, at least on part of the bayou, so that would certainly be an area of discussion. So I am bringing this up to discuss the possibility of a workshop on Watson Bayou, and there's a lot of things that I don't know, and maybe somebody else knows and they can tell me. So would anyone like to add to my discussion or my thoughts?
I just know that we've done a lot of staff work already. Natalie, I know that you do. And so I don't know if a workshop's necessary because we all agree that there's a problem. I think we need to have some ordinance or legal action of some sort. So unless you want to add something, I think, Doc, we can just direct staff that we believe it's a priority and it's important and bring us back some solutions of managing. What do you think about that?
Okay, particularly of the boats that just seem to accumulate there. And I mean, these people, quite frankly, they more or less steal the boats. I mean, and then nobody owns the boat and then it sinks and then we've got to pay somebody to, get rid of it. So it's a huge problem. If you think Mr. Hayes, do you think our staff can look into this, or would you feel better if I would like citizens' input, but if you think we should start with the staff and do something, I certainly am not opposed to that. I want to solve the problem. That's what I want to do.
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor. We're happy to look into it. I think to Commissioner Halagus's point, we have done a lot of work on this. The challenge is from as I understand, most of the derelict vessel issue falls with the state, and so we can't just go in there and just start grabbing them up. I know we work very closely with the state and with the county on a regular basis. So if there's particular boats that we need to flag for our colleagues at the state and or county, we're happy to do that. As far as a no wake zone, I'm happy to look into that too. I can work with our folks at FWC and maybe even with the Coast Guard and kind of get some of their feedback on if Snug Harbor, if a no wake zone is justified. I have no doubt that there's certain standards for that and certain criteria that need to be met in order to justify establishing that. So happy to look at both of those. And again, maybe what I would suggest is give us a timeline, and maybe maybe by the second meeting in May or something, we can bring back just a report on Watson Bayou and what we found and what we've done, just to kind of give you all the information, kind of status of where we are.
Natalie could probably give him just a little synopsis so he has something to kind of mull over until.
Yeah, of course. We do have an ordinance that addresses liveaboard and derelict vessels that was adopted a couple years ago. And some of the issues is that the definition for a liveaboard vessel is so specific that it doesn't capture the vessels that are actually used for travel where people are living on them. And so in that sense, if those become derelict, we do have to report that to the state, and then the state has to go through a lengthy notice process before they can actually remove that vessel. And all of the enforcement is done by law enforcement. I know that now that it's getting warmer, or will be getting warmer, the Marine unit will, be out on the waters a little bit more. So that you'll see a little bit more enforcement. Especially if there's crimes being committed, then I think that should be reported to the police. If you know that people are stealing vessels, that is law enforcement, and that can be reported as well.
So one thing that did help, Mayor, when we did the ordinance, obviously it didn't do much. But
I'd say it did nothing.
but I was trying so hard. Tell me what we can't, don't tell me what we can't do, tell me what we can do. But I will say the police presence we did get a boat after that. And when the police are out there, even if they don't have they can't prove something, just their presence constantly checking made a lot of people go find a new little spot to sleep in. So anyway, but that's still, it's complicated, but I support whatever efforts, Mayor. I would love to see staff make it a priority still.
I'd like to see us talk to our state and federal partners, because the law enforcement at the state and federal level can, upon an agreement with us, enforce our ordinances and our laws as well. Like the city manager said earlier, a lot of these rules fall underneath the state because they're on the water. And if we reach out and talk to our law enforcement partners at various levels, we can probably find other ways to enact the rules or the law of the land, so to speak. I would also suggest that whatever we do come up with apply to all waters surrounding Panama City, because we also up in Ward 3 had an issue like this where a derelict vessel was just affectionately called the SS Sweet Bay. It actually got marooned on a sandbar until we had a king tide, and then it was able to float away. Guy was out there with his generator. The vessel did not move under its own power as far as anybody could tell. But I think he actually did wind up in Watson Bayou eventually. But if it was the same vessel, I don't know, but it looked similar. But it is a problem. I think it's a problem outside of Watson Bayou as well. But whatever we come up with to solve within Watson Bayou, I would want to also have it applied to the rest of the city as well.
My understanding is it's a huge problem all over the state. So I'm not trying to solve the state problem. And if we've talked about this before, we probably know a lot, but maybe it's not solvable. But if the staff can look into it and Ms. McSwain can help them and, tell us and go to the state, get state or federal people to help, all's good. We just want to clean that mess up there is what I want to do.
Now, I understood, and that's why, like I said, I'm willing to commit to about 90 days. Let us come back, kind of by the end of May, and we'll report back on that. I will state, though, I do believe if y'all, if this is the direction that you want us to go in, then I think a motion that would be needed, though, is to pull back the direction we got at the last meeting, because, correct me if I'm wrong, Madam Clerk, but I believe we have direction to form by a vote of this body an actual working committee group or to deal with Watson Bayou. Is that correct, Madam Clerk? I thought we did.
I don't recall that being the direction. We were going to give I gave them a summary of all the city boards, and I had promised them an estimate of the administrative costs, which I have available now. This is just for general board. Depending on the level of service that the city provides, we're spending between $2,500 to $4,000 a year on each one of these boards. So that's a total of $30,000 to $50,000 of city funding that are to administer these boards.
And
the existing boards as they are now.
Madam Clerk, in the,
Yes.
in the minutes, it says Commissioner Halliga's motion to have a Citizens Advisory Council for Watson Bayou for the health of the bay and address the liveaboards and the possibility of mooring. Oh, you withdrew your motion. Never mind.
Okay, very good.
But no,
Reading is fundamental.
Yeah, but then I should have read the minutes instead of just asking that question.
I should have read them thoroughly.
Then Commissioner Halliga's motion for staff to return to the framework for the Watson Bayou Citizen Advisory Council with the potential costs and consider the use of community development agency resources. It passed on a 5-0 vote. So I think if we want to do something different than that now, I think it'd be appropriate that the commission give us that in a formal fashion. And instead just bring back a report on the status of Watson and not necessarily a citizen advisory council.
I want some solutions.
Yeah, pardon me?
I want some solutions.
But we can provide those as well, ma'am.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so he wants a motion, suggests a motion to, let's see, to look at solutions to solve the Watson Bayou.
I'll move a motion
Is
to
that,
approve.
is that where you're?
Right, instead of establishing an advisory committee, like staff doing it. Yes, sir.
Okay. I heard a motion in a second. Any discussion? Ms. Smith, can you call the roll?
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Halligas?
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay, I had 10B, and I wanted to talk about parking in St. Andrews during the Mardi Gras, but Mr. Hayes said that might not rise to the level of a report at the commission meeting, and I think I would tend to agree with him. So if you can bring me a report next time, or bring all of us, because it sounds like there was some abnormal situations down there that occurred, and I don't know the whole story, but I think it'd be worth us knowing.
You are correct. I've heard the same thing, that there was charging for VIP parking on the marina, which is the St. Andrews Marina, which is our property. There was no understanding from staff that was going to happen or was allowed. But there's a meeting next week, I don't know the exact date, of kind of some of the senior staff involved in the overall Mardi Gras celebration to talk through everything, kind of the hot wash of everything. And this is one of the things I'm going to get some more information on, and I will specifically report back. I probably won't wait until the next meeting. I'll probably draft up a statement of finding and just circulate it to y'all.
So, the next meeting
if
would
that
be
happened,
fine with me.
If that happened, that's a concern, and I want to learn more. So we're going to look into it. But the concern has already been raised with me by both the public and some senior staff at the city.
All right, thank you. And I'll withdraw my request that we talk about it today, because I think that you can handle that, and that'll be just fine.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Ms. Smith, I think you're up.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. Item 11A is a consideration to approve Budget Amendment Resolution 2025-0225.4 to close unfunded and donor project funds. As background information, the City of Panama City, the city incurred certain expenses related to Hurricane Michael that have been determined to be ineligible for reimbursement, or the grant funds have been donated to other projects. As a result, the projects require funding from an alternate source. This budget amendment will transfer funds from the insurance proceeds to close out the projects. The total amount of being transferred from the insurance proceeds to the projects is almost $3.7 million. That reduces the insurance proceeds down to about $18.3 million remaining. Staff recommends approval of Budget Amendment Resolution 2025-0225.4 to close unfunded and donor project funds.
Thank you. Is there a second? Okay, Ms. Smith, we need a discussion. Anybody? have anything?
Yeah, I have a question because looking at attachment A, it says these budgetary changes in reserves. But I thought that we didn't have reserves.
Well, that's in the general fund.
So is it reserves or is it not reserves?
In the general fund. These are all different funds.
But we're moving
So we have
money
a
from one
Performing
fund
Arts
to
and
another.
Events Center fund. We have a Sidewalk, Curbs and Gutters fund. We have a Joe Moody Park fund. We have a lift station damage fund. We have a Marina fund. We have the PC Marina Infrastructure Fund. All these are different funds. General fund is not listed on here.
I understand the general fund is not listed on here, but when we've told the public in the past that we're broke and we don't have any money, then I see budgetary changes in reserves. I think that's mixed messaging. I think that's where did the reserves come from? I understand that they come from separate.
The insurance proceeds.
So
They're
how
in the
come
Hurricane
those
Michael
reserves were
fund.
not included in?
Because they're not in the general fund, sir.
But
The general fund
They're
is the
still
general
reserves.
operating fund of the city.
they're still reserves.
I have never said there are no reserves. Ever. I discussed the general fund. The fund balance analysis is of the general fund. Every month, it's the general fund.
So
General fund and balance analysis.
are you saying that we could have moved money from the
I have
insurance fund.
$24.5 million worth of debt.
So you're saying we could have
That was supposed to be
moved money
funded by the insurance
from
proceeds.
You're saying we could have moved money out of the insurance fund into the general fund, and that would have solved all the general fund problems?
No, because somebody still has to pay for all these funds. Then the money comes from the general fund. The money still has to come from the funds to clear all these funds that are in deficit balance.
Yeah, I realize that you're asking for $3.6 million here, or $3.2 million, whatever the amount is. You're asking for that money to cover down on those. I'm not worried about those. That's not what my concern is. My concern is...
There's more.
Yeah, understood. My concern is the hyper focus on the general fund and then messaging to the public that we're broke. And then we have this other fund with a lot of money in it that we get to spend on other things. That's where I'm concerned with, is that on one hand, we're telling the public we're broke and we don't have any money. And on the other hand, it's, hey, here's $3 million to cover down on all these projects that need to be covered down on. I don't have a problem covering down on
debt.
projects.
We're in debt.
I get that we're in debt.
And there's nothing to fund that debt besides these proceeds.
But that debt is not due tomorrow.
That debt is due, there's no other
Yeah.
proceeds
The one-
that will cover that debt.
The 150, I understand, but
There's
all other debt.
$24.5 million outside of the 150 that is hurricane-related debt, still hurricane-related debt. This is the Hurricane Michael Fund. The $18.3 million in the Hurricane Michael Fund is committed to paying off the $24.5 million in Hurricane Michael debt.
But, okay, so to Brian, remember we had, you know,
It's either reserves or it's not reserves.
It's strategic.
It's not reserves in the general fund.
But it's
It's reserves to pay debt. It's debt service reserves.
So we voted to allow her to put it in that account to pay off that debt. But we also have the same power to tell her that we want to take it out and move it to the general. That's what I'd said at another meeting. Like, I like where it is. I'm fine with it. But when they were saying we have no reserve in general fund, I'm like, well, technically we could just transfer it over there and say, voila, now we've got,
Exactly.
$24 million in general reserve. What she's saying is definitely true. We have debt. We know that. But somebody made this point to me before, and I think of it the same way. It's, we do have debt. We've always had debt. And we had a lot more debt than this after the hurricane, okay? But, it's kind of like having a mortgage, You might be only bringing in a certain amount of revenue, and you do have a mortgage that you need to pay off, but it doesn't all have to be paid off right now. And that's what we've leveraged through all of this. So I hope maybe there's some...
The difference is all of our debt has a dedicated source of repayment. There's no dedicated source of no.
Yes, we did.
Because
We
the
did it
bank
at that meeting.
the bank allowed me to roll that $24.5 million of Hurricane Michael fund into the $150 million debt with the understanding that these insurance proceeds would pay off the difference.
But we never did pay it off. We gave the okay.
It's still
to pay it
outstanding.
off. I think that's what he's trying, anyway.
But it's
still
dedicated.
owed, in other words.
It's
It's still
dedicated.
owed.
It's dedicated for debt service.
But we're the ones that dedicated it. You asked our permission to dedicate. Am I wrong? We
No.
were at a meeting at the town hall in the basement, and you asked, it was we were talking about the bulkheads in St. Andrews, and we said we were going to put $12 million to fix those bulkheads. And then
13.
she requested that we vote to make the insurance money be the money that pays off that $24 million debt.
Right.
And we voted to do that.
I'm not sure if you voted, but that was the
Well, that was the
discussion.
direction.
That
But that's
was
the direction we gave you.
That's correct.
Yeah. That's all. I was just trying to clarify that. All right. Well, I wasn't expecting that. Oh, my goodness. Well, we've got a first and second, right?
That's correct.
Unless Jan wants to say anything else.
Well, I want to say something. This is complicated.
Yes, it is.
And
That we can
yeah,
all agree on.
That's why you hire professionals.
It's also why you
told me that
don't
before.
message to the public that we're broke when we're not
I never
broke.
said we were broke. I don't know where broke came from. That's not an accounting term.
He said it. It was the mayor says it all the time. He knows he does. It's fine.
And we're not broke. The projection for the end of this fiscal year is that there will be no reserves or very low reserves.
Can you say
That is what the projection in every monthly statement says.
Can you say that first part again?
The first part,
What you just said.
the projection
No,
for,
before that.
that we're not broke?
Thank you.
I've never said we were
I
broke.
didn't, I'm just, we have messaged to the city that we are
I said-
broke.
no, My exact
said
words,
we
my exact words were,
We have messaged.
we're living paycheck to paycheck. We have no savings account. That's, if things turn out this fiscal year the way they are projected, based on the current year's budget, we are living paycheck to paycheck. We have no savings account.
We're not broke.
We're not broke. We're paying our bills.
And
We're paying our
I want to
bills.
clarify this too. I could be wrong, but I want to clarify this. When you say we have no savings account, she's only talking about the general fund.
The general fund.
We've got savings
Exactly.
accounts that we're using to
The
make
water,
$5 million
sewer
a year.
utilities, fine.
But
They're
that's-
just fine.
But if
That's
you
not
look at the
what gets
city as a whole, we
messaged.
have money.
And we have two cameras sitting in the room with us that later we're going to have, that Panama City was
General
broke.
general fund, every page says general fund, every single page.
The community doesn't
says general
understand
fund.
I-
That's,
Yeah.
It's not your problem. It's our problem though.
And I'm not sure that we're making it any clearer at this point.
I tried. I can only do what I can. I don't know.
all right. So we are at the, let's see, we have a motion and a second, and I think we've beat this thing to death, and it's time to call a vote. Can you call the roll, please, Ms. Smith?
Commissioner Granger,
Yes.
Commissioner Halligus, Commissioner Lucas.
Yes.
Mayor Rowan.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
It's approved. Resolution 2025-0225.4, resolution providing for the budgeting of insurance proceeds for Hurricane Michael non-reimbursable expenses.
Thank you.
Item 12A is consideration to accept and expend funds from the 2024 Port Security Grant Program in the amount of $33,841.00 with a required match of $11,280.00 and approval of Budget Resolution 2025-0225.1. This request is to purchase 2 drones for the Panama City Police Department. As background information, the Panama City Police Department applied for and was awarded a portion of the 2024 Port Security Grant Program grant with a total amount of $45,121. The grant will fund $33,841 and will have a 25% match required of $11,280 to be paid for from the budgeted funds from the general fund of the police department. The availability of 2 additional drones will greatly increase the timely and efficient response to suspicious activities or threats and increase both citizen and officer safety. Staff recommendation to the Chief of Police is that the Commission approve this resolution and budget transfer.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the,
So moved.
very good. Let's see, to expend funds from the 2024 Port Security Grant Program to purchase 2 drones for the Panama City Police Department. Is there a second?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Smith, any discussion? Ms. Smith?
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Halagus?
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
The commission has adopted Resolution 2025-0225.1, a resolution providing for the amendment of the approved fiscal year 24-25 budget to accept and budget funds from the 2024 Port Security Grant Program and the required 25% match.
Item 12B is consideration to approve Budget Amendment Resolution Number 2025-0225.2 to transfer budgeted funds from the General Fund to the General Grants Fund in the amount of $3,241.00. This transfer request will supplement the grant for the purchase of 7 fingerprint scanners to be utilized by the Panama City Police Department. As background information, the Panama City Police Department was awarded $20,879.00 for the Edward J. Byrne Justice Assistance Grant to be used for the purchase of mobile fingerprint scanners. The difference of the grant amount and the purchase price of 7 fingerprint scanners is $3,241.00. A transfer from the general fund to the general grant fund will account for the difference, allowing for the purchase of fingerprint scanners. Staff recommendation to the Chief of Police is that the commission approve this request.
All right, is there a motion to approve Budget Amendment Resolution 2025-225.2?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Any discussion? All right, Ms. Smith, call the roll on 12B.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Halagus?
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Commission adopted Resolution 2025-0225.2, a resolution providing for the amendment of the approved fiscal year 24-25 budget to transfer funds from the general fund to supplement the 2024 Edward Byrne Grant.
Item 12C is consideration of adjustment of commission meetings in the months of March and April 2025. Mayor and Commissioners, for your consideration, please find below possible adjustments to the regularly scheduled commission meetings for March and April of 2025, specifically the March 11th and the April 22nd commission meetings. Commissioner Lucas, Granger, and I will be absent from the March 11th, 2025 commission meeting for city business with the National League of Cities Annual City Conference. As of now, Mayor Rohan and Commissioners Halagus and Street are expected to attend the meeting, which would provide a quorum per our rules and procedures. So we have 3 options for the March 11th, 2025 meeting, Mayor and Commissioners. Y'all can proceed as scheduled and planned with 3 commission members, which is fine, as long as one of the 3 members is not hindered from attendance the morning of the meeting. Or 2, we can move the March 11th, 2025 meeting to the following Tuesday, March 18th, 2025, and then change the meeting to be evening time at 4 p.m. All 5 are able to attend at this time. Note that the CRA board meeting for March 18th has been canceled, so there will not be a conflict with that. Or we can cancel the March 11th, 2025 meeting altogether and move everything to the March 25th meeting. Note again that the agenda for March 11th is expected to be a lighter one anyway.
What's that say about the 3 of us that were supposed to be here? Light agenda, Dr. myself, and Josh.
I led with the option that y'all can proceed, ma'am. That was the very first one. No.
I'm fine moving it to the 18th. We have Destination Panama City meeting that morning.
During the day, correct?
Yeah, but not,
Is that a motion?
yeah. Maybe motion to approve.
For discussion, I don't see any problem with leaving it March 11th. We got 3 people that are going to be here. It's going to be a light meeting. I would favor leaving it as is, and I think we can all accomplish what needs to be accomplished that day. Any other discussion?
Mayor, you've got a motion and a second.
I understand we're at the point of discussion right now.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. Any other discussion? The motion was to move it, I think, okay. And,
No, move it to the 18th.
Oh, the 18th.
which would be the next week, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, Ms. Smith, can you call the roll?
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Halagus?
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Mayor Rowan?
No.
Motion passes 3-1.
All right, and second is the April 22nd, 2025 commission meeting. That happens to be a municipal election day for the city. As it is the second meeting of the month, the scheduled start time is 4 p.m. Staff suggests adjusting the meeting time to not be in the afternoon or evening of municipal election day as voting ends and the polls close. Additionally, City Clerk Jeanette Smith, City Attorney Nevin Zimmerman, Assistant City Manager Brandy Waldron, and Deputy City Clerk Doreen Geldert serve on the canvassing board for the Supervisor of Elections, and they will be required to attend the board meeting. I believe Ms. Smith told me starting at 1 p.m. On the afternoon of the election. So the options for the April 22nd, 2025 meeting would be to keep the meeting on April 22nd, but move it to the morning beginning at 8 a.m. 2, move the meeting to the day before, Monday, April 21st, but keep it at the usual start time of 4 p.m. Or move the meeting to Thursday of that week, April 24th, 2 days later, and keep it at the planned and usual start time of 4 p.m. Central Time. Staff has confirmed the County Government Building Commission chambers are available at all of the times above for all the meetings. Staff requests commission direction on this meeting as well. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. Would anyone like to make a motion for any of those three options? It looks like we can keep it the 22nd, or you can move it to Monday before the 22nd, the day before, or we can do it afterwards, the 24th.
I have a motion, we move to number 3. I think that benefits all parties involved.
Any further discussion? I would personally favor doing it Monday, the 21st, before the election, but that's just my preference. Anybody else want to discuss? Ms. Smith, the motion was to move it to the 24th, I believe.
Correct.
And would that be at 4 p.m.?
Correct, sir.
Ms. Smith, can you call the roll?
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Halagus? Yes. Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
No.
Motion passes 3-1.
Item 12D is consideration of disposition of a city parcel located at 447 Harrison Avenue, parcel 19556-000-000 through the request for proposal or RFP process. As background information, during the CRA board meeting on January 27th of 2025, the board discussed the future of the planned CRA project located at the city-owned parcel at 447 Harrison Avenue, also known as the Downtown Breezeway property, budgeted at $625,000 over 2 years. Following a discussion and the consideration of a letter submitted by the Downtown Improvement Board, the board decided, the CRA board to be clear, decided to proceed with the sale of the property. The CRA board requested that staff engage in deliberations with the DIB on a request for proposal to facilitate this process. Staff has worked with the DIB to develop a draft RFP to solicit proposals from qualified firms to develop the property at 447 Harrison Avenue. The RFP attached in your package outlines the requirements and expectations for potential developers. Staff requests the direction of the commission regarding the city parcel located at 447 Harrison Avenue. And Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, the map and location are on your screen.
Who owns the parcel at 447 Harrison Avenue?
We do, sir.
We mean in the city?
Yes.
Correct.
I would like to know, we traded several large parcels on 6th Street, I believe, for this real estate. And do we have somewhere on the map here where we can show what we traded and how much it was worth?
I can remember when we did that swap, we had appraisals on both, and then they paid us, we did the swap plus I think they paid us $50,000.
I'm not aware of that.
I was looking at Nevin.
Yeah, okay, good.
Hey,
I'd be happy to give you a report on it, but it was $50,000 or $80,000, I believe, that was paid to the city, and there was an exchange of acreage on Mulberry Avenue for this.
Okay, maybe you could give a report next time or send a report that I could take a look at.
I can just circulate that around for everybody.
I'm concerned if we own this property and we bought it for a reason, why are we trying to sell it? Maybe it's a good idea, I just I'm concerned.
Well, I mean, It wasn't our plan initially to sell it. Again, if you look at page 2 of your agenda item, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, the DIB requested it. Our plan was to develop it into kind of like some retail space, but also maintain a breezeway, a couple of bathrooms, maybe even a little cafe area for people to get food and enjoy in that area. But then the DIB, and this is again something y'all consider at the CRA board in a different capacity, they instead would like to do, well, you know, what they've outlined here. And so, again, I in my role as both executive director of the CRA board and also as city manager, I don't have strong feelings either way. I think if we can defer to our partners at the DIB, who we kind of entrust with kind of the day-to-day care and maintenance of that downtown footprint, you know, obviously, I think, you know, we solicit the RFP. That doesn't mean we have to accept it. You know, the terms, you know, you guys would still have final say at that if you're not happy with the, you know, with the, you know, the proposals that we get back. So we're just proceed with the RFP and kind of see again, and we can put those parameters on it. You know, I think Mr. Zimmerman spoke at a minimum, we want to maintain that easement so that it does remain to be a cut through, because the block from 5th Street to 6th Street, regardless of streetscapes and the construction, that's a long block. And to be able to have all that parking that both the CRA/city and the DIB own behind the Martin Theater, behind, you know, that strip of 5th through 6th, having that mid-block cut through is valuable to people who utilize parking on the back. So at a minimum, we would want to, if we sell it, you know, that easement would go along with it. So
How do y'all feel if we did a P3 that required the developer to build housing inside there, right, residential, or give the option to do multi-use where there's office buildings on the 2nd floor, and I think this is a 3-story building, correct?
I mean, it could potentially, it has the height, there is a basement.
Not big enough?
Oh, well, no, maybe it might be, but it's not like one of the big things.
Yeah, I don't know the exact measurements, but I mean, you could potentially remove the main floor in between. I mean, there is a loft and there is a basement, and so, I mean, you'd have to look at the height, but I think at a minimum you could definitely do 2 stories. You could potentially do 3. Would have to look at specific measurements, but there is more there than you realize.
The driver behind this is this area needs more residential. It needs a lot of residential in order for these businesses to truly flourish. And if we own the property, then it seems like we could just put it out there for a P3, which then would drive.
So I don't disagree at all. I mean, that's a 101, you know, revitalization of downtown. But I think this does, at least will get us started, and it will open up the door, because it does give an option. It says or lease in here, like bring us proposals that you could do like a lease, which would be a P3 with us. So I think I think there's definitely room for that, but I think this is so vague, and it allows not just purchase, but, you know, partnering or leasing with the city, that I think we could probably do that. If we get enough interest, maybe we have somebody at the table. Right, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, we could add a line in there, and I could, you know, y'all could vote to direct myself and Mr. Zimmerman to modify it to specifically reference retail and or residential. In that, to encourage that type, in order for people to realize that's an option if they respond to the RFP.
Yeah, I wouldn't say or residential, because you wouldn't want residential just right on that first. You always want to keep that mixed use on that first level, but there might be potential,
Is there enough room for that first level?
I'm looking it up right now. You know, someone could technically, I mean, I've looked at buildings downtown, you could add to the top of them. Some of them are so strong that so I don't know what's possible. But I mean, I think you would do, you know, maybe preference to mixed use. You know, you preferably, when you're doing revitalization of downtown, you don't want I know we have office buildings down on the first floor, but ideally you want retail, restaurant on a first level, and then.
So then you would want, if I'm hearing Commissioner, you would want like mixed use, specifically looking at both retail and residential combined. We could use something like that. Okay.
But residential would have to be on
the higher floor.
Higher floors, yes.
Mr. Zimmerman, we good, sir? He's going to want clarifying, I'm sure he is.
Yeah, that would be fine. This is very broad, and it is like a P3 in that it asks for ideas and, what kind of architectural, how will you go about planning this? What is your experience in doing things like this? We can change that one line and it's on page 9, section 3.1, designed to house multiple retail businesses and or mixed use.
Be creative. I will say it does say it's 5,700 total square feet, which is not a lot. That's including that basement. So, yeah. So I would, what the mayor was asking originally when the swap was done, it was because we wanted to have control of that property, and it's the only way we could make it happen. And that having that easement, and I mean, you could move a walkway over it, and be right smack in the middle. But the idea was to do micro businesses or things like that. So hopefully somebody will be creative enough to. But I don't know. I think this is interesting because this is a challenging building to do that with. So.
Yeah, I'll just state, and sometimes this building I blend it in with the DIB building because I've been through both of them, 20, 25 times. But I'm fairly certain if you're in the middle of the building, it's a very high ceiling. I mean, like way more than 10 feet. And then in the back, there's definitely like a loft area. So, I mean, it could potentially be more square footage depending on how you build out. And yes, the plan, Commissioner Hallius, was to move the walkway all the way to the north side of that building and keep it through so that the southern part would be whatever type of development we did.
Well, I think it's broad enough that we'll see if anybody throws anything at us. And
It's a good point. I think keeping it as a walkway is very important, and I think bathrooms are important too. I mean, if somebody wants to put houses and any kind of sales in there, that's great. But we definitely need the walkthrough, and we really need it handicap accessible on the Grace Avenue side. So it's a work in progress, and that's as everybody has said, this is very vague. So, is there a motion that we proceed? Or have we had a motion and I missed? No motion yet. So motion.
I'll move a motion to approve.
Motion to approve. We're making a few modifications.
What are we approving?
Thank you.
RFP with the added language of mixed use or whatever. The possibilities are endless, but we're looking for commercial mixed residential.
I think we can put that language in that the commission would like to see proposals that do both mixed use between both retail and residential while maintaining the cut through for sure.
A second.
All right, Ms. Smith, can you call the roll?
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Halligus?
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
I would like to add, it's probably more likely going to be retail or whatever. So if we don't get any feedback or any requests, maybe we put it back out with like a detailed P3 of what we'd like there.
Now, the language, I didn't envision it was required to be mixed use.
good.
It could be. That's all.
Sounds great.
Is that's
Yeah, 'cause
what
that's the whole point of the DIB was to get it going and
Right.
Yeah, gotcha. Sounds good.
Yep. And we can also commit to having like a pre-bid meeting, potentially just to answer questions. I mean, I'll work with the purchasing division on that as well. So, all right. And the DIB, of course. All right. Item 12E, Mayor Commissioners, is consideration of approval for the transfer of Fortune Avenue from 23rd Street North to Airport Road from Bay County to Panama City. As background information, over 50% of the area or the parcels fronting this stretch of Fortune Avenue has been annexed into the city. The county has requested the city take over the road segment now that it is mostly city parcels. Panama City Public Works staff has inspected the road and find it to be in good condition. Staff recommendation to the Director of Public Works is that the commission approve the road transfer agreement as attached.
All right, is there a motion to approve?
I motion we approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Smith, can you call the roll?
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Halligus?
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Item 12F is consideration to award a contract for the Invitation to Bid, or ITB, PC 25-028 Project Hometown Revitalization, Glen Cove to RCL Emerald Coast LLC in the amount of $2,716,208.00 and providing a contingency amount of $75,000.00. As background information, an invitation for bid was advertised by the city on November 22nd of 2024 to secure competitive bids for the CDBG-DR Project Hometown Revitalization Glen Cove Project. 2 proposals were received by city staff on February 12th of 2025. The lowest responsive bid was from RCL Emerald Coast LLC in the amount of $2,746,401.00, which included alternates that were not selected. Staff would like to award the bid to RCL Emerald Coast LLC in the amount of $2,716,208.00. The project will be funded by a CDBG-DR grant amount of $2,300,000.00 and an additional amount of $490,814.01 funded by the business owner prior to the notice to proceed being issued. A budget amendment will be approved at a later date to accept the additional funds from the business owner prior to the notice to proceed being issued. The following documents are enclosed with this agenda item: the tabulation of bids, the proposed contract with RCL Emerald Coast LLC, and the payment obligation from the business owner as an addendum to the grant agreement. Staff recommendation through the Director of Development Services and the City Manager's Office is that the City Commission award ITB PC 25-025 to RCL Emerald Coast LLC in the amount of $2,716,208.00 for the construction of the project CDBG-DR Hometown Revitalization Glen Cove, and authorizing the City Manager to execute change orders up to $75,000. I'll just note that Disaster Recovery and Floodplain Manager Jennifer Aldridge here, city staff, who is the subject matter expert in this particular hometown revitalization program for the city, and is available to answer any questions by you, Mr. Mayor, or the commissioners. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, I have some questions. I went through the property appraiser. And April 14th, 2021, Glen Cove Property LLC acquired this property. And the first annual report of this limited liability corporation was in 2022. So we have this person that owns this piece of property, and he is trying to, he's trying to use a grant, the CDBG-DR grant, to rebuild this property. And according to the Hometown Revitalization Frequently Asked Questions, the participating business has to be established on or before October the 10th, 2018. So this property was not owned by this person until 2021, which is certainly after the hurricane in 10/10/18. So I just don't think, we're talking about a contract to do some building here, but I don't think it's valid that this person, I don't think this person qualifies for the grant. This grant has to do with with damage that happened after 2018, the hurricane. Let's see. The business must have been established prior to October 10th. It must have 2 full-time employees that were also employed prior to October the 10th. Therefore, this contract is to build, but I don't think this person that is applying for the contract is a valid owner because they didn't own it before the hurricane.
Yes. Jennifer Aldridge, Disaster Recovery Project Manager for the City of Panama City. So the business, one of the what's the word? Requirements. Thank you, y'all. It's late at night. Requirements was that the business be in business before Hurricane Michael. This business was. Yes, the property was purchased afterwards. However, all the hometown revitalization businesses have been approved by the Florida State of Commerce. So, I mean, it is eligible for him to receive, the business owner to receive this grant money to fix the building. It's only the facade parts. There were certain parts that he couldn't do with this money, but he's also doing with his own funds, so.
I think that's important because it's not the owner of a current business. Was it a viable business? Did it have that at the time of Hurricane Michael?
Yes.
So this came out of Hurricane Michael. And this isn't the only building that was abandoned and then bought by somebody after in hopes of doing it. Okay.
Yes, and of course, the building had been damaged by Hurricane Michael, which we know all buildings were damaged by Hurricane Michael, regardless of how much that damage was.
So they buy these things in the hopes of fooling the state so they can go ahead and get this grant. I mean, this doesn't have anything to do with the hurricane. This used to be a nursing home, and the person that is applying now didn't own it. I mean, maybe the state is just giving money away, but it just doesn't seem to be valid, in my opinion. It doesn't. It didn't exist before the hurricane, and it's not gonna be anything like what it was. It's not going to be a nursing home again. But again, it was not established on or before October 2018. If the state's given it to them, state got fooled. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Ms. Aldridge.
Yep.
All right, it's time. Does anybody else wish to discuss this? I would also like to make a point for the record that the Glencoe property now is owned by Chris Hines. Chris Hines also happens to be the landlord of Josh Street. So there's a connection here. You can mull that over all you want to, but it's a fact. And I don't think it qualifies, but apparently the state has chosen to look the other way.
I do want to say that Josh was very open when this first came, when they applied for that, and he abstained from a vote during that time, making it very clear on public record that, I mean, it was a little hanky-panky. I tell you what, for me, and I don't care about, I mean, I like Josh, but I just wanted to make that, because that was a fact that you can see. But I do want to say that at the end of the day, a hometown revitalization program is to help a city improve their facade and the way that they look, regardless of who owns it. It's going to be a much better project. I mean, Glen Cove is gone. They left. It was a nursing home. And now the I don't know how much I'm allowed to say or whatever, but I know that it's flagged for a hotel. So it'll bring money in. It's a good thing, regardless of who owns it. I appreciate the investment into it, and that is quite a whopping grant, I will say. But like you said, it wasn't the city's decision. It's somebody at the state who does that. But I would like clarification, just for the mayor and myself, that it is, if you don't mind getting that to us, or Jonathan getting that to us, that is the definition that the business was open. And doesn't matter if it's who owns it now, was it a viable working business at the time with 2 or more employees? So if y'all could verify that, because, I don't want to be given the wrong information about that.
Yeah, that is my understanding, but I'll defer to Mr. Zimmerman.
Yeah, we'll be happy to. And the grant, this, just to point out, in June of last year, the City Commission approved grants for all the ones that had been deemed to be eligible for the HRP funding, including a grant agreement with Glen Cove Property. And the state has approved that based upon the facts. We're not aware of any facts that are wrong or incorrect or false on the application that was presented to the state. And Mayor, I just didn't know you had any questions about this. And we meet a lot, and you just hadn't asked me on that. But I'd be happy to provide you with a copy of the application, be a copy with what was received back from the state. The staff is aware of nothing incorrect or wrong about what was provided to the state. Those are good questions. We just not, I don't have the application with us to provide answers to that tonight, but I do know that been advised that the state has approved them as being eligible. The actual contract with Glen Cove, this is an amendment of one that was entered into in June, and this is awarding the contract for doing the facade improvements.
Well, thank you, and I'm looking forward to you sending that material, and I would be curious even enough to call the state. I think that we have a obligation to treat grant money carefully and honestly, and this just, to me, is a little bit, it's pretty obvious. Nobody owned this thing back in the day of the hurricane. I also found a little blurb with the hometown revitalization. It says, and I'm glad Ms. Halligas pointed out that Commissioner Street abstained from voting because back then he was listed as a 5% owner. Don't know if he is or not. But the state also says under the revitalization that state officials and employees who exercise function with respect to CD, BG, DR activities, or who are in a position to participate in a decision-making process or gain inside information with regard to such activities are prohibited from receiving any benefit from the activity, either for themselves or for those with whom they have family or business ties during their tenure. But I look forward to seeing that material, and I didn't know I had so many questions. That's fair that I should have asked you.
That's fine.
But this is where we all get to talk, so I'm talking.
Yeah.
And if y'all don't mind, when y'all circle it around, just make sure, like even the question he just asked, if you'll put that in public record in writing and circle it to the rest of us. One more thing I'd like to add is if y'all could pull up the minutes from there to his absence of the vote, Josh, of that vote.
Okay.
All right, is there a motion to move forward with the invitation to bid on PC 25-028?
Well, assuming everything's all good, which I think it is, then yes, I'm looking forward to a major improvement, and that's a big tax bill coming our way. So yes, I'll move a motion to approve.
I'll second, but I want to discuss a little bit further.
All right, motion and a second. We're open for discussion.
So, Nevin, as I understand it, it is your job to make sure that the city doesn't put itself into a legal issue. Do you see any legal issue with us moving forward on this?
Well, no. I mean, there are always legal issues, but as far as what we have here, what the mayor has raised is whether or not the grant is even applies to this particular project. That's like a fundamental question that you resolve at the very beginning before you even start marching down. Obviously, an application was made, all the information was sent to the state. We got the information back. We approved an agreement in June, and a fundamental question, which is a legitimate question, has been asked whether or not this grant will even apply. Since it's been raised, obviously, I personally am going to get all the information and circle back with our consultant and Jennifer and Jonathan, and we'll make certain that that's not an issue. Don't believe it is. I hadn't really thought about that fundamental question until a few minutes ago, Mayor, but be happy to circle back and we'll be doing that regardless.
I think he also raised the question of whether or not there was some kind of, I don't know what word, Mayor, you want me to use, maybe some ethical issue of Josh. Isn't that also a question you were asking me?
That was my primary question. I was waiting for
I don't
him
think I'm
to
real worried
finish.
about
But
if the state agreed to it. I'm not real concerned
Oh,
about
okay.
it. That means they
The state's going to do their due diligence, so
But
I'm going to let the state
ethically,
handle
is
the
there something
state.
wrong with us voting for something that Josh abstained from the vote?
No. There are two questions to ask. One question is, if Commissioner Street were here and if he did have an interest, could he cure the interest by abstaining? And the answer is yes. Another question to ask is the city prohibited from doing business or giving a grant to someone who has to a business if Commissioner Street has an interest in that business that's less than 5%. It is, or 5% or less. If it's not a material interest, the answer is no. There's no prohibition to that. I don't know exactly what Commissioner Street's interest is, but at the time that he did ask us to look at this, and at the time it was less than 5%. It was not material. There was no prohibition of the city doing business with Glen Cove Property, the LLC, and that if he were here, then if he still has that interest, because I hadn't talked to him about it in a few months, but if he still had the interest, then he would abstain from voting.
So the mayor raised another issue, which was that in what he read, he says that the CDBGR grant itself prohibits officials from benefiting from the grant. Am I wrong? I mean, you read a statement there that said something along those lines. Did I hear that wrong?
No, you heard it exactly right, and I've got the material right here if you care to look at it.
I would.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
I would.
Timeline on whether this needs to be, are we on a crunch here at all?
Let's just table it then,
Then I rescind my second and
and I'll rescind my first.
motion to table.
I'll do a motion to table this item until there's clear understanding, and I think Josh would probably want the same if he were here, clear understanding of what's appropriate and make sure that everything's up to par.
Yeah, I mean, I get the whole ethics issue of if one of us were to benefit from something, you would abstain from it and you would let the public know I would benefit from this decision, so I'm abstaining. I get that piece. I think the deeper dive is the situation where if the grant itself says that no elected official can benefit from this,
Sure.
It may say that. I don't know. But I would rather us move more cautiously than step in it.
I did it first.
So we have do we need a second to table?
Yes.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I would rather have, I guess I am still discussing. I would rather have a specific time on which we would bring this back rather than just indefinite.
Yeah, we could put this on the we could put this on the March 18th meeting, which is going to be the first meeting in the month of March. And because we moved it forward, providentially, that gives us an extra week to get you guys all the
I'll find out the
documents.
answer tomorrow.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
it's fine.
But just for their sake, I wanted it to be clear when do we want this back? So are you amending?
Oh, I already did a first of tabling it and.
Till
We
March
have a
18th.
second, I believe. Yeah, it was your second. I
And I'll
think.
second that, we're tabling this till March 18th.
Any further discussion? Ms. Smith, could you please call the roll?
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Halagus?
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Item 12G is consideration of approval of the strategic community plan supporting the Goshen Community Resource and Recovery Center designating Bay County zip code 32401 as a Florida Children's Initiative. As background information, at the May 14th, 2024 City Commission meeting, the Commission approved Resolution 2024-0514.5 supporting the application by Goshen Evangelical Ministries Incorporated to designate Panama City, Florida as a Florida Children's Initiative. Florida State Statute 409.147 establishes a process that clearly identifies severely disadvantaged areas and provides guidance for developing a new social service paradigm. This model systematically coordinates programs that address the critical needs of children and their families and directs efforts to rebuild the basic infrastructure of the community. A municipality may apply to the Ounce of Prevention Fund of Florida Incorporated to designate an area as a Florida Children's Initiative after the governing body adopts a resolution that finds an area exists in such a municipality that chronically exhibits extreme and unacceptable levels of poverty, unemployment, physical deterioration, as well as limited access to quality educational, healthcare, and social services. Goshen Evangelical Ministries reached out to the city seeking support to apply for the Florida Children's Initiative designation on behalf of the Panama City community for the children growing up in a catchment area defined by Census Tracts 16 in Glenwood, 17 North Millville, and 18 South Millville within Panama City, Florida. Following the adoption of the resolution, the city shall establish a Florida Children's Initiative planning team to develop a strategic community plan. The Strategic Planning Committee has completed the plan. The next step requires the city to approve the strategic plan. Staff recommendation through the city manager's office is that the commission approve the strategic community plan provided here in your packets this evening. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the strategic community plan supporting the Goshen Community Resource and Recovery Center?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve this recommendation coming from staff.
All right, I'll second the motion. Is there any discussion?
Just want to say thank you to Goshen Evangelical Ministries. Pastor Greer is here, as well as the Goshen Community Outreach Resource and Recovery Center, who has spearheaded this effort to bring these funds into our community. Thank you.
And I just want to add to that she's been working on this for like years. I remember we passed an ordinance about this. When we brought it up on the agenda, I was like, haven't we already done that? And they're like, well, we passed an ordinance. And then you had to go out and be a part of the funding and the implementing. I mean, that is so awesome. Thank you for that effort that you've done this whole time.
Yeah, I agree completely. This is wonderful. And the more things they can bring like this, bring to us like this, it's a win-win all around. So let's see. We got a motion and a second. Do we need to vote? Ms. Smith, can you call the roll?
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Halagus?
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Mayor Rowan?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Do you need to read anything, Nevin, on that?
He does. Good catch, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
It's
It was the last item.
12G.
Yes, I've got it here.
You got it? Okay.
Is there a resolution?
There was. Maybe not.
She said no.
It says supporting community plan.
Nope. Oh, we did. At the last meeting, there was resolution 2024-0514.5.
I have nothing to read, Mayor.
Thank you very much.
We were testing him. We were testing.
Okay, I can't make a motion to adjourn, but I bet
Motion to
somebody
adjourn.
else can.
So moved.
Ms. Smith, can you call the roll?
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Halagus?
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Mayor Rowan?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.